Your Board of County Commission meeting to order Tuesday, January 26th. The time is 9:01. We are going to ask, is Juan here, Juan Sanchez? He is not in the building. Commissioner Pickens, would you do our invocation, and Commissioner Turner will do the pledge. All stand if you can.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this glorious day and all the wonders in it, Father God. We thank you for the opportunity to gather here, Father God, with citizens and commissioners and staff members, Father God. Just guide us and lead us to make the best decisions for the best of Putnam County, Father God. We just ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Pickens, for on the spot like that, and Commissioner Turner. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes and the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Got a proper motion by Commissioner
Second.
Ross, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item of business is our presentation, Administration Employee of the Quarter. Mr. Suggs, will you take that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. This is a great opportunity for us here this morning. As you know, we had started this program prior to COVID hitting, and then last year was a little bit difficult. But if I could, at this moment, I'd like to ask Executive Public Safety Director Mr. Grimes and Ms. Tina Hitchcock to come to the podium if we could, sir. And Mr. Chairman, while they're walking up, I just want to say a few words about Ms. Hitchcock. Ms. Hitchcock has been a loyal member of this family for over 13 years. Just recently promoted to the rank of battalion chief, and we're grateful for that. And I just want to say a few things. She's always willing to do whatever's necessary. I understand she's now taken on some additional training roles for our new folks, which means that they're going to get some outstanding training because Tina brings a great wealth of knowledge to Putnam County and the residents. You know, and anytime you ever need anything from Ms. Hitchcock, from Battalion Chief Hitchcock, I got to get used to saying that, you can always count on her to communicate back with you. She does a great job with communication, not only with administration, but with her staff, and she's an excellent representative of Putnam County and of the Board of County Commissioners. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Chief Grimes.
Good morning. When I got the email from HR that said we had to start selecting an employee of a quarter, you know, we have a lot of hardworking folks that work for our system. We have a lot of folks that have hung in through some tough times in our system. And one of the people that really, just for me, rose straight to the top was Battalion Chief Hitchcock. She, everything we've needed since the day I started here, she was the first one to step up and say, I can do that. She's got that can-do attitude. She'll do absolutely anything, any task we put in front of her. One of our biggest hurdles to overcome was the ability to hire folks. Tina says, I can do that. I said, okay. So we turned her loose. I think as of today or the other day, our EMS staff is full, and that's on her. She has put the legwork in. She's got that done for us.
Good deal.
I mean, she's like, I hate to compare her to a college football coach, but she's always on the recruiting trail. She's always trying to find us the best we can get. But she does a fantastic job at it. She delivers a great program to our local community schools. She's in the colleges. She's made contact with all of our tech centers around us. I asked her one thing that, you know, we got to get to a point where we really understand our employees before we put them on the street. Before I got here, they were basically rode for 3 days and they were gone. So I asked her, I said, can you put something together for these folks coming in where they can really learn what Putnam County is about before they start on the street, and they learn who the people are and our streets and how we operate. And I said, she said, I can do it. I said, okay. I said, well, take off. So she took off, and I asked her one day, I said, you look like you're tired. She goes, yeah, me and Lieutenant Tibbs stayed up all night long getting this stuff together. But they between running calls, they still were able to put this together. You know, so she's really done a great job. I can't thank her for the hard work she puts in enough. I mean, this was just a small token. It was very easy for me to go in the room and say, I've got your employee of the quarter. I really do. I mean, it was a very simple task. I think she does a great job. She does outstanding work. I never have to worry about her. I don't believe we'll ever get a complaint on her, I hope. But she does just a fantastic job, and I couldn't be more proud of her. So thank you.
right in front.
I was more.
I thought I'd be high.
You get behind JR, you couldn't stand in that chair.
I know, but they're
Stand in between the two of them.
all right.
Hey, Sarah, can you slide?
All right, looking up here for your first picture. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. No, that's only for me.
You don't want to stand in a chair?
Congratulations. Look how you changed.
Whoops, I'm in the wrong.
Old habit.
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't have saw that. Nothing.
Previous chairman used to say this was the best part, you're damn right.
It is, it is. All right, next presentation will be from our Honorable Tim Parker, the property appraiser. Mr. Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board, for allowing me to have this opportunity to recognize some of our staff here today. I know it's been a long time since we were able to really gather and recognize these individuals. As I was preparing some of these, I was noticing that it's almost their 6-year anniversary in some of the cases where we are celebrating their 5-year anniversaries. But I want to call up Mark Holder. February 23rd, 2015 is when Mark Holder began employment at the Putnam County Property Appraiser's Office. Mark has been and continues to be an important part of our office for the past 5 years. Mark is responsible for appraising some of the most valuable residential property in Putnam County. He assists our front counter staff taking homestead applications with our residents that speak Spanish, as he is fluent in that language. Mark holds the designation of Certified Florida Evaluator, completing the education requirements and passing the exams. Please join me in congratulating Mark for his 5 years of loyal service to the citizens of Putnam County. We have a certificate of appreciation that reads, "We hereby express our sincere appreciation to Mark Holder for outstanding service and contributions to the citizens of Putnam County for 5 years, and award this certificate from the Putnam County Property Appraiser." Mark's wife, Guy, is here in the audience with us. So thank you, Guy, for sharing Mark with us.
Mr. Parker, do you want to get an individual picture, or do you want to do it all at one time, whatever? Okay.
Yeah, ask Guy to
Why don't
come
you
up
come
and
up
get in the
and we'll-
picture.
Jeff, let's get up here. Yep.
Gonna get me a hug from Guy.
Well, you can still go down there and do that.
Come on, Terry.
We're not centered up, though.
Thank you.
We have two contractors.
Put Bernie in it, or they can put us in there.
Put Bernie in it? Oh, God. Any spare mittens?
I'm good, thank you.
You see the one with the big snake?
There's this picture of a snake that you can
Bernie? That's good.
Victoria? Victoria McRae began employment at the Putnam County Property Appraiser's Office on August the 11th, 2015. Victoria has been and continues to be an important part of our office for the past 5 years. Victoria is responsible for taking homestead applications from our residents, and since she is a product of Putnam, she is able to provide our office with information that only she knows because of the various roles she has been in prior to her coming here. Victoria is very involved with Mount Tabor First Baptist Church as a deaconess, and her family has many ties in our community. Victoria holds the designation of Certified Florida Evaluator, completing the education requirements and passing the exams. Please join me in congratulating Victoria for her 5 years of loyal service to the citizens of Putnam County. We have a plaque that reads Certificate of Appreciation. We hereby express our sincere appreciation to Victoria McRae for outstanding service and contributions to the citizens of Putnam County for 5 years, and award this certificate from Putnam County Property Appraiser. And her husband, Herman, is here with us. Wave, Herman. Thank you for being here. Come up here.
Come up, Mr. McCray, yes.
Congratulations.
Come on up and get in the picture with your wife.
You might not want him in there. It's her moment to shine. Congratulations.
Justin, if you want to come on up.
I was fixing to say, if he's a 5-year guy, then I've been around too long.
I'd like to recognize Justin Edwards for completing 15 years of dedicated service to our office. Justin wears many hats as in and out of our office under his title of Office Operations Supervisor. One of his most notable achievements is becoming the president of the Florida chapter of the International Association of Assessing Officers. Justin has also earned several professionals designations, those being Assessment Administration Specialist, Personal Property Specialist, and is also a Certified Florida Evaluator. Justin is an excellent example of someone who was raised in Palaca, went off to college, and returned to be an important part of our community. Justin is involved in our community with the Masons and is the Vice President of the Kiwanis Club of the Azalea City, serving our citizens even after normal work hours. Please join me in congratulating Justin on 15 years of service to the citizens of Putnam County. And we have a certificate of appreciation that reads, we hereby express our sincere appreciation to Michael Justin Edwards for outstanding service and contributions to the citizens of Putnam County for 15 years, and award this certificate from Putnam County Property Appraiser. Congratulations. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was getting old, 15 years.
He grew up.
Thank you.
Clay, you want to come on up? So I'd like to recognize Clay Davis for completing 20 years of dedicated service to our office. Clay Davis is our Deeds and Mapping Supervisor, having worked his way up from the position of Field Appraiser and is a product of Putnam. Clay also holds a State Certified Residential Appraiser designation, as well as the Certified Cadastralist of Florida designation. These designations provide our office with the credentials and expertise to appraise properties fairly and equitably. Outside of that role, Clay has been a key member of the Insurance Committee and advises the Solid Waste Committee. Clay is also involved with our community and is a bishop with the Church of Latter-day Saints, and is also a member of the Kiwanis Club of the Azalea City. Please join me in congratulating Clay Davis on 20 years of service to the citizens of Putnam County. We have a certificate of appreciation, which reads, we hereby express our sincere appreciation to Clay Davis for outstanding service and contributions to the citizens of Putnam County for 20 years, and award this certificate from the Putnam County Property Appraiser. And his wife, Teresa, and son, Carson, are able to be here with us today. Congratulations.
Clay, invite your wife and son up here to get in the picture with us.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Davis takes a seat, if I could, sir, there was one accolade that Mr. Parker did not bestow upon Clay that I'd like to take the opportunity and say thank you, Clay, for your leadership this past year on our insurance committee. As chair, you've done an outstanding job, and you made that a whole lot easier. Thank you so much.
I was actually gonna bring that up myself. He did mention he's on the insurance committee, but he's the chairman of the insurance committee,
Right.
which is pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Parker, and thank you. This is the highlight of our time on the agenda, and we look so forward to that. Mr. Keith Brandom and Sherry Korn with the Veterans Services. Angela, do you want to come up with them?
Hi.
No? You're fine? Okay.
Hard to follow that, isn't it, Keith?
Yeah.
Hey, I like the red shirts, by the way.
Well, you know, sir, I was going to comment on those real quick.
I'm sorry, did I take your thunder?
Chairman,
Well, contrary to popular belief, we're
hey,
dressed
Chief,
alike, but we're not
excuse me,
twins.
Mr.
Gotta-
Tim, before you leave, did y'all wanna do a group photo with everybody, or is that good enough? Okay, thank you. Thank you, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine.
Yes, sir, I just want to say that Sheree and I aren't
Could you
twins.
put the microphone to your,
Oh, sir,
There
is
you
that
go.
better, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, her and I are not twins, nor do we have a uniform. However, there is a significance of our red shirts. I'm gonna let Sheree just talk for a few seconds about what that is.
Okay, as everyone knows, we're the Veteran Service Office, and on Fridays, we wear red in honor of all those deployed. It is, remember everyone deployed. That's where the red comes from. So we always wear these on Fridays and represent everyone deployed.
Very cool.
I'd like to get some of those. We could do that. Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm
Good.
with you, sir.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I think.
I know a guy that knows a guy. Yeah,
He knows a girl.
I've met that girl too. Yeah, I've met that girl. First off, thank you very much for allowing us to appear before you today. I know on the agenda, may have said quarterly report, but we kind of wrote it up into the year. A lot of things got kind of stopped at the front of the year because of COVID-19. We were actually really able to pick that up in August to open full blast. Certain things I'd like to say that maybe some may or may not know is that this office is actually, you know, we serve at the pleasure of the board. This is not a mandatory office that the county has to have. It needs the support of each and every one of you to keep functioning. We know that. Many people confuse us with the VA. We are not the VA. We work for the veterans of the county. We represent them towards. Some of our cases do go to court, so we have to make sure that they're really prepped to appear before the VA judge and those type of things. And there's two folks here that, and I know you board, you guys do a lot of, ladies and gentlemen, do a lot of great things for us. But there's two people who are significant in helping us to be successful. One of those is Terry Suggs, who provides an overseer type atmosphere for us to let us go forward and do things that we think we want to do. Another person is Angela Nelson, who is our direct supervisor, who every week makes her way over to our office to sit down and ask what we're doing to make sure that we stay within the parameters and the guidelines of the county, that we can represent the county in good fashion. So those two folks, I just want to take a moment to identify them. As our office was reopening in August and September, we did some major changes and revamping of the office itself. Sheree and I were new to the not organization, but new to the office there. There was some personnel changes, some folks retired, some folks moved on. So we came in to kind of reopen it to the veteran services, or to the veterans of the community, but not only the veterans, but their spouses and loved ones as well. And a lot of people don't understand what we actually do, and I just want to take a few seconds to explain, is that we see a lot of veterans for disability, injury, illness claims while they were in the military. And normally people think that stops there. But we also do other claims for our veterans and their spouses who are over the age of 65, who may be low income. We also provide in this for veterans who may, and we did have several in the last 4 months who moved on, who passed away, to seek some kind of financial assistance for their spouses. We do those as well. We also assist those veterans who may be disabled, but not from the military, because they've been forced to lose their job, not have enough financial income. VA actually, we can actually help them financially. We also accept those who are in assisted living, who are homebound, who are in nursing care, memory care. So I just want to make sure that folks, as they listen to this, they know that we just aren't disability claims. We have a plethora of opportunities that we can give out or help those who are associated with veterans or their spouses, okay? The hardest part of our job in any of this is helping those veterans who come through our door, because our counseling really goes beyond that. As I kind of mentioned before, we did talk several families through the death process of working with the VA, what we can provide for the veterans themselves. It's estimated, well, VA's got a claim out now that 22 veterans commit suicide daily, okay? Through our services, I want everyone here to know, and you can check the statistics county-wise, that reduction pretty much does not exist. And I'm gonna take a little credit for that, because when veterans come in and they've hit the wall, they don't know how to get around the wall, and they just get beat up and beat up and beat up. Sometimes they just give up, okay? We are the ones, all of us, are the ones who help them overcome that and achieve that. Many of the veterans who return back here, okay, to live, we assist them in financial stability a little bit so that they stay here, okay? And there's a success story at the end I'm gonna kind of bring up to you to show what we kind of do with that. We have no data prior to August. Sheree and I came in here, so I don't know if we're successful or not, because there's nothing to judge it against in the past. So I'm just gonna ask each of you folks in here if you think we're successful, because I don't know if you folks, you actually know this, a lot of your people in your districts have you on speed dial, and they call you personally. So I hope that you've heard back that, hey, this office really did great things for us. If we haven't, please, please, please let us know, because we are always achieving, always adjusting, always maneuvering to try to be a little bit better than we were, okay? Overall, the money that we were able to bring in throughout the year was $463,000 that were returned to the veterans, okay? That money, even though it's considered tax-free, if you talk to the veterans themselves, a lot of that money is returned into the county for goods and services, okay? So as stewards of the taxpayer money, as all of us are, the return on investment for this is outstanding, just absolutely outstanding. We look forward to a full year this year of being able to help our veterans out, because we are if you've ever seen our appointment books, so we're packed for 2 weeks straight, with our appointments. So things are coming along just fine. We do have a certification coming up. You just don't walk into this job and take it over. There's a certification that we have to go through every 6 months. Our next certification is going to be in 6 months. And it's not that it's that intense, just that it changes that much from the VA from 6 months to 6 months to 6 months. We do a lot, and we're not lawyers, but we do a lot of legal stuff that enables the claim to go forward to represent the veteran in court, so we make sure that we do that. We're not physician's assistants, even though we each have a medical journal next to us. When a veteran comes in and says, I have this type of illness, this type of injury, and you're like, I have no idea what that is, so let me look that up and see how it does that. A lot of folks are under the impression that we see a veteran just for one time. We don't. A veteran may come in with a service-connected disability. We do the claim. They go away. It gets worse. They come back in. They have a secondary ailment due to the primary ailment. They come back in, okay? They may pass away. There may be low income. So we actually develop a long-term relationship with the veterans in our community to go out and have them always come back in for future claims. And I want to make sure that we have done a lot of outreach in this community over the last 4 or 5 months, folks. We have been from the Rotary Club talking to the Food Bank Distribution Center talking, from the not cemetery, but from the funeral home talking about burial benefits, okay, to out to the Veterans Village that's right behind our office, so you can see what's kind of going on there. So we're really out in the community a lot, trying to let our veterans and their significant others or children know. Our future goals for this upcoming year is that in our Interlochen, in our office, we really expanded our office. Our satellite office is the Interlochen in Crescent City, okay? We're attempting to do a 2-day Interlochen visit because the need for that out there is really good. And we found out today from Angela that we were been given a little bit of additional extra space for privacy and for the influx of veterans that we're having. The Crescent City office has been kind enough to give us our own office, our own computer, our own everything. It's fantastic out there. And for those of you that may not know, Those offices in the past was a appointment-only, 2-hour-a-week kind of thing. So we've expanded that to an entire day, once a week, and of course, the interlock, we'll be going out there twice a week, okay? So we're outreaching with those folks there. The next goal that we have is that we would like to go into the assisted living facilities and nursing homes, okay? That's still a real tough subject to approach with the COVID-19. So that my outreach today isn't to those veterans, but to those family members who can view this, who can come into our office, that we can discuss these things, okay? Through the technology that you folks approved, we only have to see them one time now, so we can capture their signature, digitally direct it right straight towards VA. So it's not like it used to be where a person would have to come in 4 or 5 times, see us that many times, have to sign all these documents over and over and over. And one thing I mentioned last time is normally a claim with the VA would take anywhere between 4, 5, and 6 months to be done. Through our technology that we have now, we're actually, we got some back the last week, early week, that was done in a month and a half, 2 months. And that is just absolutely unheard of in our area, okay? There are 2 success stories. We have a lot of them. But 2 I kind of want to mention is a gentleman that when I first came here in August, he showed up on the first day, very irate. Come to find out, he visited our office once a week for every week, okay? In and out, talking about how bad things were. And I said, well, how long have you been doing this? He goes, I've been fighting this for 8 years. I said, well, are you successful at it? He's like, no. I said, let's try it our way this time. Okay? About a month and a half later, the gentleman walked in, as usual on clockwork, and he said, you know what? I just got a $35,000 check deposited in my account, and they've raised my disability claim. He doesn't come in the office anymore, okay? So I'm happy about that. For those of you who may have voted over at the supervisor elections office, you may have seen our table out in front of our office. We said that was a good way to see folks as they come by, let them know that we were back open. Cherie and I was out there talking to people as they passed by, and of course, when you've done this as long as we have, and if you're a veteran, you know you can spot another veteran at like 50 yards, okay? So I started talking to this father, and lo and behold, he was a veteran, and his son was with him, the veteran also, who had got discharged in California, filed a claim, but came back here to live, okay? Cherie started talking to him, and he was, well, I did this in California, I did that in California, and Cherie said, well, come on in and work with me for a while. She spent an entire day working with this veteran, calling folks in California, calling people at VA, calling people at the Defense Financial Assistance League, did all this kind of nifty stuff. And the guy was patiently sat there. At the end of the day, the gentleman found out that he had a $26,000 check. The VA didn't know where to send it. That was going to be able to be sent to him, and plus his claim was approved, so he would get a stipend. Now, this gentleman sat right there, and I swear to God, the first thing he said when she said, you've got a $26,000 check coming, first thing he goes, I'm going to go buy me a new truck. That was it. You know, he was out the door. So those are just a couple of successes that we've had. We absolutely look forward to having more successes throughout the county in the upcoming year. But again, I want to return this back to how I started this. Each and every one of you contribute to this success. I want to make sure that those who are listening know that it's just not her and I at all. It's people like you, people like Angela, who will come in, provide the guidance, because we've approached Angela on some things, going, hey, this is what we'd like to do. And she's like, no, you can't do that. And then she said, well, yeah, that sounds like a plan. Let's go ahead and do that, okay? So with that being said, barring any questions from any of you, this kind of concludes what I wanted to present to you today.
Keith, there is a question
Yes,
from,
sir.
or a statement from Mr. Adamsack. Mr. Adamsack.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. Sherry, you and I met when I first came on, and I do appreciate you opening the interlocking office and being there 2 days a week now. That's news to me, and that's awesome. That was a big thing that I got feedback from veterans in my area, was that they had nowhere to go. So sometimes a change in face in a position is good, whether it's you guys are just doing stuff a little bit different. On the return of investment, I mean, there's more to that than just the financial side of it. If you have a veteran with confidence and gets his pride back, that's a very important thing as well. And I just want to thank you guys for everything you're doing. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes, sir.
I think, well, go ahead.
Well,
I'll-
Mr. Pickens and then
I'll
Mr.
get
Roll.
in line, there you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir.
Yeah, I also want to compliment y'all. I met both of y'all, I believe, after the 9/11 memorial 2 years ago, and I found out what y'all did, so I hung around and I wanted to introduce myself. And I asked y'all to reach out to two veterans. One's 70 now and one's around 40, and you helped both of them immediately. If nothing else, just the way y'all handled them, they felt that you wanted to help them, that they were needed, and they felt good about it. So you've really helped both of them in different ways, and I just want to thank you. And I want to thank you for committing a day to the office in Crescent City for veterans, because Putnam County has a lot of veterans.
Yes,
But
it
I-
does.
But I just want to commend you for what y'all have done, especially through the COVID. But both of those gentlemen really, really appreciate what y'all have done.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Rawls?
I just want to piggyback on what Commissioner Adams and Pickens just both said. And, you know, I was introduced to you guys at the 9/11 ceremony and then at the Veterans Day celebration at the American Legion. And what I noticed was y'all were working the crowd.
Always.
And
Yes, sir.
you were handing out cards and talking as you approached me and handed me a card. And I just want to say thank you very much for your service and what you're doing for the community, because I think it really is making a big difference.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Turner?
Yes, Keith, Sheree, you can give all the accolades you want to the people sitting up here. This is not where it belongs. It belongs to you.
That's right.
Y'all have a positive attitude, and that goes a long way in the jobs that you do. And so I'm just glad that we can do what we need to do to support you in your role, because we realize how important it is and how good you are at it. So the accolades belong on the other side of that microphone. That's
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that concludes. Thank you, folks, very much.
And I want to say this
I'm
to
sorry.
you, really, I concur with everybody, but Commissioner Turner's right. You know, we have a very small role to play, and our job is to help you be successful, and you are. And I appreciate the Interlaken branch. I know we're going to be doing some at the community center, and that's going to be good. We would have done it earlier, but we had a water leak, so we couldn't get you in there, but we got that fixed.
She swims.
Yeah, and well, it was a matter of, the meter was going too fast.
Oh, that,
so-
okay.
Yeah, so we got that fixed, but we're excited that you can use that. And we look forward to many more. And whatever you need from us, let us know. We're here to help you. Commissioner Turner said, it's all about you, and it's about our veterans. And we want to help you be successful. And we're glad that the new computer program's working.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, we're glad about that, because we had to invest some money on that, but that's the right thing to do, so.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever else you need, let us know. And I appreciate, we're going to look at the red shirts. Commissioner Rawls has a guy, so we'll look at that. I didn't know
He has
that,
a
but I
guy,
like
yeah.
it. Thank you.
All right, folks.
Thank you very
y'all
much.
very much.
Thank you.
I think we should get a picture with them.
Yeah, let's get a picture with you.
Come on up.
Come on.
Keith, Sheree, come on up. Let's get a picture.
Do we have our picture guy here? No.
Julianne can take a picture.
You want to get, let's go down.
Yeah, let's go down.
It's all good. Just smile.
Angela stands behind her.
1, 2, 3, smile and stop talking. Thank you. There you go.
Larry, thanks so very much for all you do.
You're a little forceful there, aren't you? All right, next on our agenda, Julianne Young Holmes.
Holmes Young,
Young,
but just Young is good.
same, all the words go together.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. I am here
Morning.
with your monthly project update. Just to reiterate, the project update presentation is meant to provide the Commission and the public with an update of a handful of projects which are of most interest to the Commission, our citizens, or administration. The project list is not intended to be an all-inclusive list of every project or initiative underway by county departments. If there's a particular question on a project, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be sure to provide additional information to you. We're going to start with the administration. We had the CARES Act Business Assistance Program, the CARES Act Nonprofit Business Assistance Program, and the CARES Act Individual Assistance Program. All three of those programs are complete. Animal Control Facility, the Animal Control Advisory Board will be viewing the new building plans presented at the last workshop by Commissioner Rawls at the February meeting. They will be making a recommendation as to where they want the building to be located, and will have a member of the committee come and update the BOCC to make the presentation. Core borings have been authorized in a target area for future development, and Mr. Troxel, Executive Director of Public Works, has been tasked with that effort. The Department of Health has interior building renovations ongoing. The notice to proceed was issued December 18th, and construction is expected to be completed in May of 2021. The Melrose Library expansion, bid 2028, was awarded at the BOCC November meeting. Contract documents and insurance is being assembled. A notice to proceed is expected the 1st of February, and project completion estimated date is still late summer of 2021. Parks and Recreation has the Georgetown Park project underway. We are still working with Mr. Bernstein and Mr. Gerardin in an attempt to work through the process of the boat ramps. Parks and Recreation has the Flora Home Park Historic Building renovation ongoing. The Flora Home Historic Association volunteers continue to work under the direction of the building contractor. The project remains in demolition phase, although is almost completely complete in demolition phase. Fundraising efforts are ongoing, and as we reported, but we're still proud to report, the Flora Home Historic Association was awarded a $30,000 gift from Vulcan Materials. The Planning Department has the comprehensive plan update going on. On January 27th, the Planning Commission is scheduled to hear the proposed changes and to take action on the comprehensive plan, goals, objectives, and policies, along with the proposed changes to the future land use. And then it will be forwarded to the BOCC for consideration. Planning also has the CitizenServe online permitting. Contract for services were executed. We are still in implementation phase. Internal and external teams meet weekly to review and complete the implementation of the modules. IT is getting all parcel data and GIS information for integration into the new system. Assuming the data transfer is complete, we anticipate going live in March of 2021. Fort Gates Ferry project is still ongoing. Travis Roberts is leading that process. FDOT comments are being reviewed and addressed, and revisions required will be followed by FDOT review, comment, and approval. The Barden Bridge project, the notice to proceed was issued. Contracts scheduled to begin lane closures on January 25th, 2021. Public Works has the Lake Susan Road Phase 2 project. FDOT approved the final plans. FDOT concurrence has been obtained. The bid is live. A pre-bid meeting is scheduled for January 25th, 2021, and the bids due are February 12th, 2021. St. John's Avenue resurfacing Palm Avenue to CSX crossing at the Palaca Fire Department. The City of Palaca's request regarding the road reconstruction will be presented to the BOCC during the January 2021 Transportation Workshop this afternoon. The County Road 310 Bridge Rehabilitation Project, the award for design services was awarded to Civil Services Incorporated. 30% plans review has been approved and reviewed by Public Works, and the plans are scheduled to be completed by March 26, 2021. Public Works has the septic to sewer conversion underway. Design is underway. Public Works has obtained the 80% of the required utility easements, scheduled to advertise for construction in March of 2021, pending those utility easement submissions. Dirt to Pave 2020, Halifax scheduled to begin construction January 4th, Besh and Smith scheduled to begin construction February 1st, and we are awaiting the remaining contract document from Art Walker for the last road. East Putnam drainage and flooding mitigation. Public Works has completed the meeting with St. Johns River Water Management District on January 14th, 2021 for the permit determination. The Water Management is requesting more documentation prior to providing concurrence to proceed. The received survey needed for TCE and TIFT property. Plan on submitting the application to TIITF for TCEs on January 29, 2021. 75% of the temporary construction easements have been obtained. St. John's Avenue drainage improvement, State Road 19 to County Road 309C. Scope modifications were approved by DEO, awaiting supplemental agreement from DEO for execution. Public Works is planning to discuss various design options with the board during the January 26th transportation workshop. St. John's Avenue multi-use trail. The plan modifications were submitted to FDOT December 17th. Construction scheduled to begin after approval from FDOT. Road restriping and pavement marking project of fiscal year 20. Work is substantially complete, and we are in the closeout phase of the project. East Lar Lane Drainage Project, which is Crescent Lake Shores Drive. Public Works has coordinated an on-site meeting with the contractor for January 22nd, 2021. The project boundary lines have been staked out, and construction is scheduled to begin January 25th, 2021. Tolls Road Drainage, the award is being presented today at the BOCC consent agenda. County-wide drainage improvements. Public Works is coordinated with the Water Management for permanent determination. Same thing. South Palm Sidewalk, Druid Street to Silver Lake, the design is underway. We've received 100% FDOT and county review scheduled for February 2021. Construction is scheduled to begin July of 2021. Saratoga Harbor Drainage Project, 100% design submittal is under review by Public Works. The permit requirements were transferred from the Army Corps of Engineers to FDEP, scheduled to advertise after the permit requirements are complete. James A. Long Elementary and Jenkins Middle School safe routes to school. Notice to proceed issued to the designer on November 5th, 2020. 90% submittal scheduled for FDOT Putnam County review on May 2021. 100% submittal scheduled for FDOT Putnam County review September 2021. Cell 4A construction at sanitation. The award is on the BOCC agenda for formal award at this afternoon's meeting. This concludes my updates.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Adamzat?
Yeah, on the Forts Gate Ferry thing, is there a way we can get maybe Travis in here for one of our workshops and get a deeper update on where, from his perspective, it's at, as well as the state's? Just a little deeper dive. I mean, we've been getting an update on this every week, and just a little curious of it's another one that's been on our books for a long time. Just would like to have a more in-depth conversation on it.
Mr. Chairman, the staff will certainly reach out and see if we can schedule an opportunity to get Mr. Roberts in to sit with the commissioners at an upcoming workshop.
Along those lines, and I don't want to belabor that point, we can talk more about it today at transportation, but I think that's a two-prong, getting people across the river is one thing, but getting them from the forest up to 19 is another conversation. So I think we really need to look at that when we have those two conversations. I mean, we can open the ferry up, but we can't get them up the road. What's the point of opening the ferry up? So, all right, we'll move forward. Thank you. Mr. Rawls.
Just real quick update. I did talk to Travis day before yesterday.
Okay.
FDOT has they've done their final review apparently. Everything has been agreed upon. Now they're waiting on the Army Corps of Engineer permit. That was one thing that was started. Ms. John, do you know anything about that, the Army Corps permit?
No, sir, I don't. Mr. Troxel?
Yes, please.
The issue was that it was originally permitted with concrete, but now being switched to wood. The Army Corps requested some formality to change it.
Okay.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
But yes, I have to work with the Army Corps of Engineers. They did permit the concrete version. So when I got with Mr. Roberts, I had to resubmit for an Army Corps of Engineers for the new wood.
Will that be
platform.
FDEP now with the change that just happened, or?
No, I don't think that one's the case. They haven't got back with me yet. I asked them that question. But
Okay.
But yeah, we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers to revise the permit. It's just a permit modification is
Good.
what they need.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Adamzat?
I fully support the idea of the forest road going in there too. I will say I was able to drive my Nissan Sentra down that road all the way there, but I think it's because we're in the dry season. And obviously where that road comes into play is when it's wet, but that is part of the conversation I would love to hear too.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, and I also, Travis gave me an update. Pretty much what Commissioner Rawls says, it's getting really close, but they did have to resubmit from concrete to wood. But, Mr. Charleston, you know, I know there were some monies that were given to the forestry to straighten out the roads going down to the ferry. Travis said they were better, and I guess if you drove down there, they must be. But do you know if they're doing any extra work to, you know, to try to bring those things up to, you know, a certain level?
No, not on the forestry part. On our part, we don't do it, but I haven't heard anything about the forestry yet.
Okay.
Mr. Turner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only comment was on the road itself is that that's a forestry issue that we don't seem to be able to work out. It's not like we haven't gone out of our way, jumped upside down and turned somersaults, to try to make it happen. It's just, if you're gonna have a deal with somebody, it takes two people to tango. And, so in this case, they're not willing to tango. They're just absolutely not willing to do anything about it at all. We made just as a history for Commissioner Adams-Ack and what have you, we made a deal with them to where if they bring the road up to just normal maintenance standards, we would take over maintenance of that road if they would give us the ability to do it by signing the agreement. Number one, they hadn't signed the agreement. Number two, they hadn't ever brought the road up to county standard for us to take it over. And even when Congressman Yoho's office got them some additional money to do so, the best I can tell, and this is just me looking at it from a 10,000 foot view, I can't see where they spent very little or any of the money on that particular road. They spent it on roads all over the whole forest. That's okay, but the main reason they got the money was for this road, and so they give $1 there and spent the rest of the money everywhere else. So, you know, like I said, I completely agree with Commissioner Harvey here. You know, there's no need in opening this ferry or spending a bunch of extra money if it's gonna get to the other side and nobody has the ability to drive to 19, and we don't have control over that road. So that is definitely a two-subject conversation that we need to have over that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner, and I appreciate your passion on that, I really do. Next item on the agenda will be public comments on agenda items. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on public comments on agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move down to the consent agenda. I'll start with Commissioner Rawls. Do you have any items you want to pull, Commissioner?
I have none.
Commissioner Pickens?
I have none.
Commissioner Adams-Ack?
F, G, H, I, L, and M.
Wait, F, G, H, I, L, and M? Wow, I was listening good at that time. Okay, good. Mr. Turner?
I have none.
All right, and I have none. So, Mr. Adams-Ack, well, why don't we entertain a motion?
Chairman, I move that we pass the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, J, and K.
Got a proper motion on those items. Got a proper second by Commissioner Rawls. The motion was by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on the items? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Adams-Ack, you have the floor on item F, page 78 of your agenda.
Yeah, so the main reason I pulled most of these, and I talked to Mr. Suggs about it, is I didn't feel I had enough research time to do everything I wanted to do to contact everyone I could in reference to this particular one, just based on the time that we got this. But I do have some basic questions, and it shouldn't take too long.
That'd be fine.
But for item F, for surplus inventory, again, because I'm new, I'm just curious how we dispose of surplus inventory, and it goes along the lines of the auction option, maybe for surplus properties. Maybe we do something where it's a combined auction with surplus properties as well as surplus property, because a lot of the same people that like to buy property like to buy equipment, whether it's broke or not, and it could draw in more people for both. And how do we do that currently?
Am I
Go ahead, Ms.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, sir. Commissioner Adams-Ack, we dispose of that property in a host of different ways depending on the asset that's being disposed of. So there's a niche market for different items. There are usually our fleet vehicles. It's most advantageous for us to bring in an auctioneer. They auctioneer the vehicles off. The public can participate. You can participate. Other agencies can participate. So participation is open. A lot of the per-fill computer equipment is done through Gov Deals. Again, the public it's an open access site, kind of eBay, if you will, except for you have to pick it up and our fees are not as significant. And so, of course, we can entertain any way to dispose of that property, but those have been the two most advantageous ways that we've gone about it historically.
So do you see, and maybe we had to bring this up, and I think I brought it up a a couple meetings ago, or last meeting. Can we add this to an upcoming workshop where maybe we discuss combining the auction of the properties that we list, the ones we list in the website, with maybe the auction of heavy equipment and stuff that's separate with the same auctioneer, similar auctioneers, and just to discuss it and see where we can go with that, if it's maybe a viable option?
We can certainly discuss anything. I think that logistically, heavy equipment is unique to a buyer group, and obviously an auctioneer, for which we've done, is easy to do. It would be logistically impossible for staff to auctioneer off computer equipment, because you have to group it in pallets
Let's pull
and
that
that
aside.
kind of thing.
The computer equipment really is probably aged nonsense, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm just talking more like the trucks and that type stuff would have a similar group of people that may be interested in properties.
Sure.
Mr. Adams, Mr. Turner has a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that I would say is these are two different animals. It's kind of like building a house or commercial. You think it's the same thing, but it's not. It's two different animals. Usually, I believe they have a regular auction over in East Palaca for trucks and whatever, where the other stuff is pretty much done online by sealed bid.
And that's, a couple meetings ago, that's what I was discussing, is changing the sealed bid to a live auction. Because I
For
think that would-
properties, you mean?
Yes.
But even then, you wouldn't do it in the same way that you would equipment in East Palaca. You've actually, if you wanna buy equipment at an auction in East Palaca, I've been to hundreds of these all over, not the county,
Right.
but all over. And you actually get on your feet and you walk around and you look at whatever you're gonna buy, and the auctioneer, you buy it or you don't as you walk through the yard.
So I think we should take this to workshop, and I'm more than happy to explain how it could work. And it could be two separate auctions, absolutely. I've run this type of auction before, so it is possible to combine the two, but sometimes it is advantageous to separate, and that's where we need more discussion.
Mr. Adams, since you pulled the items, do you want to wait and get them approved at the end, or how do you want to proceed at that matter?
Yeah, we can wait, because I don't
Okay.
think there's anything here that's
Okay.
gonna stop us from approving any of them.
Mr. Adams, item G.
Item G, I was surprised with the size of that contract. See, we only had one bidder, and I understand that happens sometimes, but just curious on how many people that went out to and how we end up with only one bidder on that item.
Chairman, can I do that one too?
You may.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Adams, this one is a little bit unique for a couple of reasons. I can't give you a tangible number as to how many it went out to. I can pull that data, but I, of course, don't have it in front of me here today. We utilize a host of different ways to publicize these bids. One, of course, is your local news. Two, we have a vendor registry of any vendor who fits the commodity for which we're fixing to do the service. They've asked to be notified, and we physically push something out to them. And then we use a national database that takes regional and statewide contractors that would fit this realm into account. This bid was actually issued twice, so we did have more participation on the first round. It was reissued with a little bit of scope modifications because it was over budget just based on when we started and where we are today in the world. And so it's not that we only had a little bit of participation. We actually had great participation at the pre-bid, but at the end of the day, with the modified scope and the contractors knowing we were over budget to begin with, I believe you just got a lesser turnout at the final product.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Adams, item G.
H.
Sorry.
So this one, it goes back to where I was talking about we should be revisiting all of our contracts, and this kind of goes, Mr. Suggs, to when I first came on, where I said it seems like from watching meetings that things come up at the last minute. I'd like to see us be able to talk about these contracts a little bit sooner than just right before when they are due, I guess. And this looks like we're doing month to month to try to adjust for that, but if we could, yeah, go ahead.
Can I take this one too? I'm
Yes,
sorry,
Ms. Young.
Chairman. This one's unique, Commissioner Adams, in that we were prepared to issue a fuel bid, but we actually have a new team of executive directors, as you know. And as we reassessed our needs with that fuel, we actually have executive directors who've brought to the table some great ideas to modify what's happening within the county as far as our fuel systems. and we'd like to enhance. So in order to gather enough data to issue a comprehensive bid that is going to account for a new way, some modifications as to how we're getting fuel, what kind of fuel we're using, how many places it's delivered to, hopefully to bring a better value to the county. We did execute what is in statutorily allowed, a 6-month extension on an existing contract in order for us to completely revamp that bid. So this is a very, very different situation.
Mr. Turner, you have a question?
That was actually my question. She just answered it. I was wondering why we only did it 6 months. That's very unusual. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and before we go further in the program, if you'll allow me,
I will.
Mr. Chairman. You know, I realize that we didn't get the agenda out late last week, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a bunch of crap that we have to keep having these innuendos thrown at them when I know for a fact that Sarah was working her butt off all day long on Tuesday and Wednesday and trying to get everything out and stressing out over top of it. And we want to come in here on a week the Monday was a holiday, and we want to give her hell because the thing wasn't out on Wednesday. I'm sorry, Paul, I can't get there on that one, will you?
I don't think I'm giving Sarah hell, and that's not the intention of it, but sure.
Well, and all these other items.
I
all
actually
the
would
other
like- I would like to
committees- wait a
see-
minute, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'll turn it over to you when I'm done. One thing that we need to understand here is that all the commissioners have the opportunity to go to staff and ask all these questions before this meeting, and if you don't get it resolved to your satisfaction, then bring it to the meeting. So, I mean, that's the only thing I wanted to bring up. That's all. Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Turner. Mr. Rawls?
I have no problem with you bringing it up. I think the more the public knows, the better off we are and they are. This contract itself, you know, I had a lot of heartburn, and Mr. Reynolds might remember back at the end of January 2019, when he, at the end of a meeting, brought up added an agenda item after the meeting was finished and we were fixing to start commissioner comments, and he said, we have an emergency to deal with. And I raised an issue then. And when I saw this come up, I had a lot of heartburn about it, and I literally was in the middle of dialing when I saw the 6-month extension, and I said, I'll do 6 months. But it gives me 6 months to come out here and ask staff why we're waiting to the last minute. And I think that's the heartburn that Mr. Adams expresses, but I don't have a problem with 6 months. Beyond 6 months, you know, obviously I would, so.
I'm good with either.
Yep.
Mr. Adams?
It goes to the, you know, when I first got elected, I asked for a list of all the contracts with start dates and end dates. And here I am, 2.5 years later, or 2 years and 3 months later, with nothing. So it goes to his point, but again, I'm good with that issue. I don't have a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls. Mr. Adams, that.
Yeah, so I will continue to bring up questions that I have in the public for the purposes of the public hearing it, and that's how I'm going to operate. So I appreciate your input as far as feeling I was attacking Sarah, which was not my intent, and I've gone out of my way to let Sarah know that. So I will continue to bring that up for the perpetual until I'm gone. So
Thank you, Mr. Adams, that. Mr. Adams, that,
I
Mr.
gotta say
Pickens.
something. I don't know where I want to start. With the contract extension for the fuel, this is a perfect example of something that needed to be corrected, and we're going to correct it. And with the new executive director, and I believe I'm looking at one of them back there, J.R. Grimes, you wanted some input on your emergency vehicles and fire trucks, right? So you wanted how y'all are getting fuel. So this is a perfect example of, I believe, if we just allow this system to work, it's going to work. And yes, we did have problems when I got here, the problems when you got here, and we'll continue to work through these problems. One of the things I will say, when I got here 4 years ago, we very seldom got our agenda before Thursday. A lot of times it was Friday. But that has been corrected, and this is one of the few times that we haven't gotten it by Wednesday. So I want to compliment staff on that, but I appreciate, Paul, you bringing that part up, because you do need to get it in a reasonable amount of time, because some of these projects, like this Towles Road, we've been working on this thing for a couple of years, haven't we? Right? Exactly. So you got to kind of refresh your memory and see where this is, and then make time to get with staff. And staff's just not sitting there waiting for a commissioner to call them. They have other things to do. So I want to commend staff, but I do appreciate some of these questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Okay,
I forget one thing. Since you invoked the word Tills Road, you know, that's a lot of heartburn for me, but getting it done, getting it behind us is what we need to do. I got it, you know, we got our butts handed to us by a contractor, and this is the end of it.
Learn
So,
and move forward.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Rawls, for those comments, and thank you, every one of us. Okay, item I, Mr. Adamsack.
Item I just would like to know if there's, when this comes up for renewal again, is there any looking into potential other avenues for this contract? Maybe Google Office, that type of thing, Google Mail. There are some smaller enterprises in the IT world that are starting to go there to save money. There's differences in the service potentially, but is it something we could potentially look at in the future?
Good morning. Yes, actually, we are working on our strategic plan, and one of our strategic objectives is to look at cost. And, you know, when you look at my budget, one that stands out is the Microsoft, $150,000 every year. What are we getting for it? I would like the IT committee to take a look at all my strategic objectives that we have listed, which leads me to, we need a commissioner on the IT committee. Commissioner Harvey, you did it last time. We'd like to do this next month, if we could get someone who
I
can.
think that's pretty simple. We can all probably look to our right and figure this one out.
Okay.
I can turn my button off now, Mr.
So, Mr. Turner, I'll be in touch with
That's
you then.
exactly what I was
So
gonna
moved.
say. We need to ask Commissioner Adamsack if he'll go sit with y'all and talk
I
with
think
you
that's
about
what he
it.
was volunteering for.
Yeah,
Commissioner Adams, that-
Congratulations, Paul.
I'd be more than happy to be on that
Glad to-
committee.
So it's
Thank
not
you.
Mr. Turner? It's not Commissioner Turner?
No, Commissioner Adamsack will serve on that IT
Okay,
committee.
all right, very good. Look for that to come in February. We'd like to get that started. We'd like to look at all these things. I have about 9 objectives that we'd like to iron out and get those things on track and ready to go.
We look forward to
Oh,
the
sorry.
committee's report. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, the county in the last couple of years, 3 years, have taken a unique approach that I've never heard before, but it's worked out successful so far. We've assigned county commissioners or allowed them to go out and actually participate in a certain department with the full authority to do so. And we try to kind of stay out of it as much as we could until they bring it back and need recommendations. And we try to support those recommendations if they make sense. And I could go down the list, Commissioner Rawls with the port, Commissioner Pickens with fleet maintenance, myself with the landfill. And saying that, a reason why is if Commissioner Adamsack would allow us to, I'd like to give him the authority to go meet with them on a little higher level than what would be normal and come back to us with any recommendations or things because of his expertise in the tech
agree.
industry.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we started this conversation yesterday in an email exchange with Commissioner Adamsack, and I would like to schedule a meeting prior to a committee meeting, if I could, with the Commissioner Adamsack as well as the IT folks, and kind of go through what it is that we're looking for and see if we can participate and make things work.
Use him. He wants to be used. Mr. Adamsack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess item L,
Oh, you done with that?
yeah, that
Okay.
was all I had. for
Item L, Mr. Adamsack.
And it sounds like we're
Wait,
gonna
wait.
look into that.
Ms. Young? Okay.
L, I just found this one cool that we have a new business in town in Firehouse that is already given back to the community. So I just wanted to say publicly, thank you to Firehouse Subs for putting this money towards our AEDs and training. So that's all I wanted to pull that one for.
Mr. Adamsack, since you mentioned Firehouse, I want to tell you, I think Mr. Turner was here, Mr. Pickens was here for sure. We would get beat up almost on a monthly meeting about Firehouse won't come to Putnam County, and we went and talked to them, and they're not coming, and lo and behold, they're here, so not everybody that stands there hollering at us sometimes knows exactly what's going on. So, but we took a beating over Firehouse from a person for a long time, so thank you. Mr. Adamsack, item M.
Item M, kind of along the same lines, securing that money from FDOT for signage for intoxicated driving, things like that. I would love to see us find a way to get, and Mr. Troxel's working on some signage for littering in some parts of the county. I would like to see a way to get a little bit more enforcement on that and maybe get the sheriff on board with basically publicizing when that enforcement happens. And I think in the when we had our little meeting the other day, our attorney said something about potentially maybe we could have one of the penalties be for someone to clean up a little bit after they get a ticket for that type of thing as an option in lieu of a fine. I don't know how we move that forward, but I would love to see that. I've gotten 4 more complaints in the last 2 days on litter on the highways, and it's not all related to the mowing either. Some of it is literally just people dumping, and
Yeah, it is.
we need to figure out a way to if we don't stop the people from dumping, or at least get it less happening, then this is just gonna be a constant thing for the rest of our lives, and we need to do something about it.
Mr. Adamczak, thank you. You want to make a motion now?
I can do it for you
Yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
don't mind.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item F, G, H, I, L, and M.
We have proper motion by Commissioner
Second.
Turner, proper second by Commissioner Pickens. Any further discussions on these items? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to take a 4-minute recess.
In 27 seconds?
Yep. Sometimes the girls look at me. and thank you for that moment. Our 10 o'clock certain, our first meeting is on public hearing, item A, large-scale future land amendment, page 109 in your agenda. Mr. Brown, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman and Commission, Mike Brown, Planning Development Services. This is a transmittal hearing for a large-scale map amendment, LM 20-001. The applicant is William Family Properties Investment LLC. Again, this is a large-scale future land use amendment from industrial to ag on approximately 313 acres. It is zoned plan unit development, and as I indicated, the future land use presently is industrial, and the property is located at 945 North Highway 17. Just real quickly, this is again, a transmittal hearing. As you're aware, pursuant to state statutes, large-scale land use changes and text amendments need to be transmitted to the state. Then it will come back to the board with any comments for the Board of County Commissioners to adopt. So you will see this again.
Mr.
Yes.
Turner?
Mike, who do you transmit it to now that there's no DCA?
DEO
Okay,
gets it. They have taken that function as a state land planning agency.
okay, good, thank you.
Mr. Brown, does it go to Regional Planning Council also?
They are part of the reviewing agencies.
Good,
I
thank
mean,
you.
we send it, the motion will be, as you will see, it's not only the state review, DEO, but it's all the state reviewing agencies, which includes regional council, our neighboring counties and municipalities, as well as all the state agencies. And I will go, because you will see this again for adoption, I'll go through this fairly quickly. This shows the general location of the project. Again, it includes 6 parcels of 313 acres approximately. In July of 2012, the county adopted a future land use map amendment on the subject property to change it from Ag 2 to industrial. And that included a text amendment on the future land use policy element that limited the development on the site to 3 million square feet of industrial uses. At the same time, there was also, and you will see this when it comes back for adoption at the same hearing, a rezoning from ag to plan unit development. So that'll be in the works also, but you don't worry about that today. Here's an aerial showing the property, the current future land use industrial, the proposed, again, to go to Ag 2, and the current zoning is PUD. Just real quickly, industrial future land uses consist of areas intended for the primarily industrial locations in the future. Both heavy and light industrial uses are allowed. One of the reasons a amendment to the land use is required is our comp plan does not allow rezoning to agricultural districts without a future land use amendment to the appropriate future land use. And again, the proposed designation is Ag 2, which is primarily for silviculture and rangeland with a allowable density of 1 unit per 20 acres. In analyzing the request, the property is primarily covered with planted pines with a building related to silviculture operations. The property has continued to be utilized as silviculture and other agricultural uses since the 2012 land use change. The requested amendment would revert the property back to the Ag 2 future land use, which was what it was prior to the 2012 amendment. And again, I already touched on the prohibition against rezoning industrial property to agriculture without the appropriate future land use, which is the real reason for the change. Surrounding properties are a mix of agriculture and silviculture, so it's compatible with the surrounding land uses. As I indicated earlier, as part of the ordinance that adopted the 2012 amendment. There was a text amendment that limited the development to a maximum of 3 million square feet of gross buildable area of industrial development. The change in the future land use and the change in this will result in a great reduction in the impacts associated with the project.
Mr. Brown?
Yes,
Mr. Turner has a question.
I'm sorry.
I think you may have just answered it, but maybe even take it a step further if you
Okay.
would. The comp plan revisions that we're going through right now and then the land development code, what impact is that gonna have on the rules that we're dealing with right now?
Not,
As far as sending this to the state for a regional impact or
it will
whatever?
not, that will not affect that at all. I mean, what it may affect is depending on the outcome of what is adopted ultimately on the, specifically as it relates to allowable densities. If the Ag 2 changes, then that will carry over to this property. But
So there could be a density change, but that wouldn't affect the overall plan on what they're trying to do?
yeah,
is
not for this, no. That'll be countywide, and these properties, this property will be incorporated into that change.
Mr. Brown, along those same lines, Mr. Turner, are you done?
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Along those same lines, will you be sending to the reviewing agencies a narrative that we're working on our comp plan and that density could change? 'Cause I've-
When your comp plan, when you act, you will have to act as a board to transmit the future changes to the comp plan to the same reviewing agencies that this goes to. So at that time, there will be a narrative that will go through all the changes. And, I mean, yeah, that, they will get that. They won't get that discussion with here at this point.
They'll get it down.
They will just deal with this as the rules are today.
Mr. Rawls?
So I think I heard the answer. You know, I'd written a question, how does this proposed change to the comp plan affect Ag 1 to Ag 2? So this will revert to Ag 1?
No, again.
Under the new comp plan?
Yeah, again, I don't know what will be adopted ultimately.
Okay,
Based on what's adopted in the new comp plan as it relates to Ag 2, if it's a change in density, if it's a change in, you'll see it next month.
yes, the question
Is
is,
that the Planning Commission is recommending going to one Ag future land use.
right, and
Just one rather than two.
that'll double the density technically?
Yeah,
Um,
if that gets adopted, this property, if it's
Automatically.
a change to Ag 2, will change to be consistent with that. Every acre of ag in the county will change to that same density.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Continue, Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Okay. So staff requests approval. The Planning Commission recommended adoption of this. And so staff is requesting approval from the board to transmit to DEO and the reviewing agencies a request to amend the future land use designation for the subject 313 acres from industrial to Ag 2, along with an amendment to the along with a text amendment of the future land use element to remove the limitation to 3 million square feet of industrial.
Commissioners, you've heard staff recommendation. Any further questions?
Not at this time.
I just have one question. I should know this. Mike, what's the PF zoning? What is that?
Pardon? Missed that.
The zoning across from it and beside it, it's got PF in there. What is that?
It's a party fun zone.
Across the street?
Yeah,
Across the road, there's two.
Ain't it?
Oh,
Is that what it is?
TUD is,
yeah. I mean, across, is that the,
I don't know, it just says, you got Ag 2, which is what they want to change this parcel
Yeah.
to. And then near this, there's a PF. Is that a?
oh, that's a public facilities, I'm sorry. That's a public
Okay.
facilities future land use.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Oh, you're not. Okay. Well, this is a public hearing, so we are going to open it up to the public. And is there any public that are wishing to speak in favor of this? All right, seeing none, any public that wishes to speak against this? All right, we'll end our public comments, and Board, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
sir.
I make a motion that we approve the large-scale future land use amendment as proposed by staff to move it on to DEO, case number LM 20-001.
Thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. We got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, proper second by Commissioner Turner to approve the transmittal to DEO and all reviewing agencies as stated by Mr. Brown. Any further discussion? Mr. Adams, that.
So I guess I'll just make a statement. Industrial zoning is hard to come by. So there's a slight concern that we're giving up 300 acres of industrial zoning. And in the future land use, I guess the question would be is how much more do we anticipate coming in? And I'm not against this because I think the people are doing it it's their property. So I think they should have the right to change their zoning in this particular case. But how much does that take away from our percentage of industrial zoning? And you may not be able to answer that today.
Yeah, I don't have the exact percentage, but it's probably probably in double digit of the percentage of industrial that we have in the county.
Yep.
I can get you the exact number
Yep.
after the meeting, but that's my guess right now.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with you. And I meant to ask you this yesterday when I was talking to you. Thank you.
Mr. Turner?
Just a little history, Mr. Chairman, before we vote on this finally. This was one of those parcels of land that the county approached different landowners on back in 2013 and asked them, would they, as part of their economic development process, would they consider allowing the land use to be changed to industrial. There was one there was one down in Crescent City, I think maybe on Teddy Sealer's or next to it, somewhere in that area, and there was one more that escapes me at the moment, but the county actually went to these people and asked them to change, thinking that it would bring industrial business to the county. Well, here it is 8 years later, nobody's moved in, and I think their taxes got jacked up pretty good for going from ag to industrial. If I owned the property and I didn't think it was gonna be used for industrial that would bring in the big bucks for selling the land, I believe I would have changed it myself. So I think this is what's going on here, and I don't blame them at all. It wouldn't ever been industrial to start with if the county hadn't asked them back then to do it.
Right. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next case will be zoning map amendment, case number 20003.
Mr. Chairman, PUD 20-003 is a application by Florida Renewable Partners with the agent of Kimley Horn, requesting to rezone approximately 383 acres from agriculture to planned unit development. The purpose of the request is to facilitate the development of a 74.5 megawatt photovoltaic solar facility. The location is on East End Road along the Putnam Flagler County boundary. Here's a general map showing the general location of the project. Just a little background, and this is the fourth one we've processed in the county. The photovoltaic solar panels will convert sunlight to electricity, which will then be distributed to an on-site, if I'm not mistaken, on-site substation in this case, for distribution to the grid. Facility will be unmanned when it's in operation and completed construction. The project site is undeveloped and has been utilized for active agricultural purposes in the past. The future land use designations are A1 and A2, and the present zoning is agriculture. Here it shows you a map of the future land use. Here's an aerial of the map of the area. You can see that this area has been heavily utilized for active agricultural purposes. Existing zoning, as I indicated, is ag, and here's a general conceptual site plan at development. Looking at comp plan consistency, policy A193A10D of the comp plan permits passive energy generation projects such as solar and wind in A2 and A1 future land use classification with the approval of a PUD. That's the reason that we're seeing this application. Policy A193B of the comp plan allows PUD zoning in any future land use designation if the PUD is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan, meets the criteria for such in the land development code, and does not increase the intensity and/or density of uses in the underlying land use category. Analyzing those requirements, the subject property is located in both Ag 2 and Ag 1 future land use. Both those land uses allow for passive energy facility projects, and the proposed facility as a solar farm does not increase the intensity or density of uses over what's allowed in the A1 and A2 future land use category. The proposed use of a solar facility is consistent with the future land use designation. The Land Development Code sets forth PUD requirements for all PUDs to meet. And the first one is it requires the application rezoned to PUD to present evidence that the rezoning is justified. The proposed solar facility does not meet any of the existing zoning districts or fit within any of the existing zoning districts. The A1 and A2 future land use category allows for passive energy facilities subject to adoption of the PUD. Therefore, staff believes the applicant has provided evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified in this case. There are then a number of listed criteria that each PUD must meet. I will try to go through those as quickly as possible. The first one is the intensity and character of type of development proposed is consistent with the comp plan. Development of a solar facility is allowed in A1 and A2 category pursuant to the comp plan. The type of development is consistent with what's allowed in the comp plan. And the development plan provides for flexibility to meet the changing needs and technologies and economies consistent and consumer preferences. The next criteria, the use proposed is compatible with the terrain and existing planned uses of properties. The proposed solar facility is a low impact use. The site that is compatible with the surrounding agricultural uses and including with what happens in Flagler County next door, which is primarily silviculture adjacent to this site. The solar panels do not produce any sound, and the project will not produce any odors or other nuisances. Once construction is completed, traffic will be limited to maintenance personnel only. The residential density of the PUD must comply with the density limitations. There's no residential development associated with this proposal. Usable open spaces are provided. Again, there's no need because there's no additional population, so there's no need for additional recreational or open spaces. The site of the PUD must be suitable for use in a manner proposed without hazard to persons either on or off the site from the likelihood of increased flooding. The project will be designed and will be developed in accordance with a stormwater permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, which will protect adjacent properties from runoff and/or flooding. Next criteria is all uses permitted in the PUD shall have access to the public street, either directly or by way of a private road. The project site will have access and an entrance off of Tupelo Drive, which is a private easement, and the facility, again, will be unmanned, and the project will not generate any traffic. I will be touching, when we go over the conditions in the agreement, we'll touch on some of the traffic issues, and we'll discuss those. The next criteria is sufficient off-site parking and on-site parking. There is no need for off-site parking. All parking during construction will be on-site and outside of any setbacks. The next criteria is utilities and essential public services, including but not limited to sanitary and potable water, shall be provided. Again, and with the facility being unmanned when it's constructed, there will be no real need for additional utilities or essential public services. During construction, all sanitary sewer will be, or not sanitary, well, sanitary sewer, but more sanitation will be dealt with by the applicant. As I indicated, and with every PUD, there's an agreement. I just want to hit some of the highlights on that. The project will be developed as a single phase of development, which is required to begin within 36 months of adoption of the PUD ordinance. The history with FPL and this type of development is that they are a lot quicker and usually done with construction within that completed construction within 36 months. Again, the project will be required to be consistent with the preliminary site layout that's provided as Exhibit B of the agreement. East End Road from State Road 100 to the project entrance, which is basically will be Tupelo Drive, will be brought back up to pre-construction conditions within 8 months after construction. That's always an issue with these, is the construction traffic and wear and tear on the road. We will also deal, I believe, Commissioner Harvey has a question related to Tupelo, and we can discuss that also to be included in this. Access drive and intended circulation shall be approved by Emergency Services and Public Works for compliance with access management for emergency vehicles. There will be a 10-foot wide landscape buffer provided along the frontage of Tupelo Drive within the area where there are single-family residences across Tupelo Drive from the project. The buffer will provide a minimum of 75% opacity within 36 months after completion of the construction. So this is just an additional vegetative buffer to protect or to buffer from the residential development that exists across Tupelo. And the findings and recommendations. Staff finds that the applicant has presented evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified. The proposed rezoning and development is consistent with the future land use designation. And development is consistent with the requirements for PUD zoning and consistent with the comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. At its December 9th, 2020 meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request to rezone 383 acres of land from agriculture to planned unit development, subject to inclusion of the Florida Renewable Partners Solar Energy Center PUD development agreement. Staff makes that recommendation to the board. Any questions
Thank you,
of
Mr. Brown.
staff?
I do, and first I want to give the floor to Commissioner Turner if he desires it. It is in his district. Do you have any questions, sir? Or?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. I've been talking to Mr. Jim Bush about this for a year now. And he's gone out of his way to answer any questions, get any information that was needed, work with the neighbors, whatever the deal might be, he's gone out of his way to do it. So no, sir, I don't have any questions at this point. I did want to say that usually when we have these kind of issues, everybody says, well, I wouldn't mind if they built one in my backyard. Well, this one's in my backyard, and I don't mind, so.
You're right. I want to give, really, I'm going to say this. I was new on the board when this first came to us years and years ago. And Mr. Bush, you remember that I had a lot of questions, and I was new and thought I kind of ruled the world there for a moment. But I'm going to tell you, I found FP&L, I found Mr. Bush to be most generous in the things that they could do for the public and for the citizens. And I tell you, y'all are a great working partnership for this county and for that area, and I know you will be. So the questions I had, and I've talked to Mr. Bush about this, was some of the concerns was Tupelo Road being left whole. You assured me you had no plans for Tupelo Road, and I'm not, if I misspeak, just say you misspoke. The ditch on the east side of Tupelo Road is very important to the community. You didn't care about the ditch either. You want that drainage to work. The north side vegetation was a concern to someone, and you addressed that. And the west side vegetation would be enhanced a little bit. The only question I have now is, in reading and seeing the document, and I kind of missed that, Mr. Brown, was it appears the west side vegetation only goes to where the homes are.
Yeah, that's the
done.
way the way the agreement's drafted, it does. If
But there
you
could
would
be
like to-
more homes built all the way down to that north property line. Would you might address when it's time for you to come up, you might address
Yeah.
maybe that might need to be, because it can't be that far. So, and I'm gonna take these out of turn, Mr. Adamczyk, if you don't mind, since Mr. Turner's just jumped in and it is his district. Mr. Turner, I'll give you the floor first, sir.
On the west side of it, they'd already agreed to build a bigger, badder fence. So why is it that they want, that this owner, and I know who you're talking about, because he's wore me out on it, so
Microphone?
what I'd like to know is why we have to do a vegetative buffer as well as building this bigger, better fence that he requested. It's like you can't make him happy. Now, he's a friend of mine too, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
And I don't want to, certainly don't want to get him unhappy, but by the same token, really, we're gonna hold this
No.
great project up over,
No.
because he wants them to plant a few extra bushes?
It's not about him. It's about, from what I just saw, and I apologize, it's about from the end of where the homes are now to that north property line. And that's the only question I have. But we'll get to that. Just hang on to that. We'll get to, that's a very minor detail. Mr. Adamczyk.
That was along the lines of the same question I had, but it wasn't in reference to the owner at the end. It was in reference to the owners in the beginning who did come to the planning board meeting and express some concerns there. The 75% opacity of the buffer that you're gonna put in, and I guess we could do that in a minute, but my question would be, at what height do we expect that to be? And that's a question I raised to you guys as well in person, so that would be my question. And I did suggest the screen barrier. And the thing that I didn't see in what we have in front of us is that higher fence with the extra that we talked about, that you mentioned in the planning thing. I don't think it's in the documents we have, that fence. So I just want to make sure that we are committed to that.
All right, since we don't have any more comments from the board, the applicant can come up and address that.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mark Shelton. I'm with Kimley Horn Associates. My address is 12740 Grand Bay Parkway West, Suite 2350, Jacksonville, Florida 32258. I'm the authorized agent for Florida Renewable Partners through Michael Revels, the property owner. I'm here this morning with Erico Lopez, the project manager, and Jim Bush, of course, both with FPL. I'm just going to do this quick summary. I'm going to hand it off to Erico. He's got a little presentation. He's also going to answer your questions. Excuse me. We're before you today to ask for your approval of this PUD that will allow for a solar farm or a solar energy center in this agricultural area. We agree with staff's recommendation as well as the Planning Commission's recommendations and findings of approval. With that quick summary, as I said, I'm going to hand this over to Erico Lopez, who has a quick presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
morning, Chairman Harvey, members of the board. Thank you so much for having us here this morning. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of work on behalf of myself and my team to get us here today, and so this is a very special day. But I'd be extremely remiss in not acknowledging all the hard work that Mr. Brown has put in on our behalf in processing our application, along with the county staff, the Planning Commission, and obviously this board here today. Once again, my name is Erico Lopez. I'm the Senior Project Manager here on behalf of Florida Renewable Partners, in charge of the FRP Putnam County Solar Project. As you may already know, well, let me just take one step just to kind of walk you through the presentation. I will try to make my comments very brief. The first slide that I'm going to go into is just who we are. A lot of times when you meet someone, you want to know who are you, what do you represent. So I'll get into that a bit. The next slide is actually just highlighting the projects that we have within your lovely county, in Putnam County, and obviously my sister company, FPL, has done a great job in representing the brand that we want to uphold. Then we'll get into the project, answer some of the questions that the board has, and obviously after that, we'll showcase a video, 3 to 4 minutes, that's a rendering of the project that'll show before and after. It'll talk about a little bit about the buffering. It'll show where our project's situated. So that'll be the presentation. It'll be, I'll try to make it as painless as possible, and then obviously open it up to what I think is most important process of public forums, which is the question and answer period. So just rather quickly, as you may already know, Florida Renewable Partners is a sister company to FPL. We're both wholly owned and indirect subsidiaries of NextEra Energy, based out of Juno Beach, Florida. NextEra Energy Resources is a leading clean energy company and the #1 renewable company in the world, with more than 47,000 megawatts and 15,000 employees across 33 states and in Canada. We have over 50 years of technical expertise, obviously building not only these type of projects, but nuclear power plants, transmission lines, wind turbines, all in different parts of the country. And we have a reputation, and we like to, in every step of the way, from development, community interaction, construction, we like to uphold the values of our reputation, which is do what we say, do the right thing, and make sure that the job gets done. Essentially, as we get through this presentation here, so we have our FPL Horizon Solar Project, which is in Alachua and Putnam County. We have our Coral Farms project in Putnam County, and the Sunshine Gateway, which is in Columbia County, and Wildflower Solar Energy in DeSoto County. Why am I showing those to you is obviously because we want to show that what is built not only in your county and in other counties is what we're trying to do here today with the approvals. We're trying to make sure that we build a project that is efficient, something that doesn't disturb the community. Obviously, it's a construction project, but doesn't disturb the community, and is something that the county is proud of and that we're proud of at the end of the day. So a little bit about solar energy. We believe that solar energy is a great neighbor. It's virtually silent. These panels operate autonomously and without water. The only time you're going to see anybody using water on this site is if for some reason some mud gets kicked up or something on the panels. We usually let God, clean the panels with the rain, which we appreciate. Like Mr. Brown said, the only time you'll see someone on site is to mow the grass. Something that we personally like to contract with local vendors on that service, and that's pretty much it. These solar panels will generate enough power to power about 15,000 homes, and the emissions that this project saves is equivalent to removing 12,000 cars from the road each year. Obviously, there's construction plans, but one of the things that we concentrate most are environmental impact plans and also stormwater plans. So as we move forward with this project, we will be interacting with FDEP on the stormwater process, because I know that that's extremely important not only for us, but for citizens in the area. So the FRP Putnam County Solar Project. Oh, geez, I think I'm showing all my notes. Let me just get in here real quick, sorry. There we go. So if I could orient you, on the southern side of this project, you have East End Road. On the west side, you have Tupelo Road. And then you have Yelvington Road, which abuts on the Flagler and Putnam County border. This project, 393 acres. It'll have approximately 261,000 solar panels. The transmission line that this project will interconnect to is directly about 1.5 miles north of the site. It will interconnect into the FPL. I believe it's the Putnam to Corona line. And our goal is to have this project under construction by next spring and operational by the winter of 2023. We usually budget around a 9 to 10 month construction timeline, with obviously the main activity right within the first 3 or 4 months. And some of the potential economic benefits of the site was direct and indirect economic effects. We will have around 200 to 250 construction jobs at the height of this project. We like to team up with local workers, hire locally, and train local workers in solar installation. U.S. News Reports actually just put out a study, and solar installer is the largest and fastest growing job in our country today, followed by wind technician. So these are very good paying jobs, something that frankly is in high demand in this state and all around our country. So along with that comes the increased hotel and restaurant revenue from all the the hungry construction workers that'll be working on the site. So I'll now get into that quick video that I mentioned, which is our we call it TrueScape. could just quickly go back. I know that there were some questions from the board that I'd like to address. The first one is the suggested buffer on the western side, north of the residential structures. That area, as far as we know, is under a conservation easement, which was why we didn't contemplate putting a buffer along that side. So we didn't think that there was ever going to be any homes there. It's a conservation easement. That's why we didn't propose that. The second question was with regards to the fence. We are proposing a 6-foot fence with a 1-foot barbed wire. I don't know if maybe that wasn't properly communicated in the application, but that's kind of what we normally do on all of our plants. We like to make sure that nothing, gets in, no one gets out per se, and so that's what we're proposing. And then the third, with regards to the actual planting, on day 1, that planting will be at least 3 feet. Within the 36 months, that planting will be well within 5 to 6 feet. And obviously, it'll only get larger as time passes. We're planning on using native species and making sure, the native species, as you plant them in a certain height, they'll grow easier with less irrigation, more rain, and things like that. So those were the 3. One note, we didn't have enough time to get the visual of the northern landscape buffer. We would like to mention that we will adhere to that. We understand that that's a concern from our neighbor, and we want to make sure that that's in the record, that we will build that buffer to the northern side of our property. And with that said, I will conclude my remarks and open it up for any questions.
Okay, I do, again, one last thing. On Tupelo Road,
Yes, sir.
I understand from Mr. Brown that you're going to be accessing your site somewhat off of Tupelo and off of East End Road. And, but you're going to put that back like it was, and it'll still just be a private easement through that. The residents have no desire to bring it into the county, so that conversation is a dead. I was unaware of the conservation easement past those residents, so I apologize for that. So that road's fine and the ditch is fine, because I think that's the 2 concerns, is that ditch carries a lot of water out of that area, so.
Yeah, we understand that ditch carries a lot of water, and frankly, a lot of times when we have those ditches, in working with our stormwater engineers, we want to make sure that we can address the drainage from our site, right? We never want any of that to spill onto our neighbors. Frankly, we wouldn't get a permit for that. So that's right, that ditch will remain. And with regards to Tupelo Road, we have no intent to, petition for that road to change. The only thing that we would do to that road or to East End Road with help of the county is making sure that we can improve it so that our trucks can get in there for construction. I believe it's, bring it to as good or better condition. And then after that, everything will remain the way that it is today. So that's our intent.
Good. Mr. Adamczak?
So during the hearing, there was also talks about the height, the maximum height on the lot, and I think in this, it says 35 feet. I believe during that meeting, you guys committed to a lower height. I don't know why that's important, whoever asked for it, but it is something that's not in here that was discussed during the planning board.
The new agreement, the one that's in the ordinance, it should, because mine does, did make that change to structure height of to 20 feet.
Okay.
So that's in the agreement.
Cool. And then my other concern that I talked about, you guys, is just the traffic when you guys leave if you guys just describe, kind of like you did to me in person, how we're going to handle that point at 100 where it Y's from a safety perspective during construction.
I mean, I think.
I can help with that.
Mr. Turner?
Chairman. DOT's supposed to start construction this year on redoing that intersection, so it should be started and well on the way by the time they ever show up, which is in the spring or after of next year. So
Microphone?
in spring or after of next year is when they're supposed to show up, and and DOT's supposed to start that project where they're actually gonna put a turn lane in both directions, and it had nothing to do with this project. They were just, it was coming anyhow. So it just happened that it's gonna be either in progress or whatever by the time these guys ever show up. You know, guys, I do live out there, and I could think of 100 things if you challenged me that would be less impactful than a solar farm is gonna be down at the end of East End Road. Yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the ass while they build it. I'll be the first to admit it. I live on that road, and there's gonna be a lot of traffic. But we have traffic now. We have traffic from the hunters during hunting season, from the farmers down there that are right now during potato season. I'll bet we get 50 semis a day coming in and out of that farm. So it's not like we don't have an impact down there anyhow. You can ask Mr. Tilton back there. He lives on the road with me. He's one of my neighbors. So we have impacts already. They might be a little worse for a while, but then they're gonna really decrease the impacts that we're having right now. So, you know, obviously you can see I'm for it. I've been for a year or so now. I've been dealing with Mr. Bush, and he's been very responsive to any questions I had or any member of the community had when I sent them to him. So anyhow, Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls.
You know, from what I've seen, I've watched them build a solar farm over off 207. I don't know if you guys had anything to do with that or not, but it's, from where I sit, it's very low impact construction. You're gonna mobilize in, you're gonna set all the crates that have all the solar panels. They're not gonna bring this in drips and drabs. So all the heavy lifting, all the heavy vehicle traffic is gonna happen in a very short period of time. Then you're gonna have what I would call regular construction traffic, with, you know, your pickup trucks and vans and people going to work every day. And then they're gonna demobilize, and that's gonna be getting the heavy equipment off site. But it's really not a very impactful construction site.
I agree. Mr. Adams,
Again, I'm only looking out for the safety of our citizens. So I guess my question is, during that high impact, when you bring all that in, will we have flag people at that corner? Whether or not the DOT moves forward or not, we don't know for sure if that's gonna happen.
Right.
So a lot of things happen in road projects that get delayed for years. So I just wanna make sure that we're looking out for the safety of everyone in that area, including Mr. Turner who lives out there, while you're moving them big trucks through that area, that there is flagging or something that stops people from coming down 100, flying at 70 miles an hour, and so they're more aware than they are possibly now, because it is kind of a blind corner, and we don't know that the DOT will have that done by the time your project is started.
Yes, sir, and frankly speaking, I've been on that, and so I've turned that corner many a time, and I understand the issues with it. Our standard of construction is, I mean, I think we set the bar very, very high. And the bar trickles down not only from our construction sites, but even when we're at headquarters. We have a zero tolerance policy with regards to safety issues. And so with understanding our construction team, and they will come on site, they'll understand where all the pinch points are, where the hot spots are. They'll make sure to have flaggers or anything that's needed to basically make sure that the public and our workers are protected while construction is being done.
All right, I have a couple more.
Yes, sir.
This project will put Putnam County back in the forefront of being the largest solar provider in the state of Florida with 4 solar plants, not just 3. So we'll take over the lead on that. Greatly appreciate that. The last thing I want to say.
Good thing.
Yes, it is a good thing. How can we let the public know about the jobs, the 200 jobs, how can they apply for those jobs? And I think that's important. Mr. Bush, you want to address that? Because believe me, people need these jobs, so.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jim Bush, FPL. We've done various things. It really depends on ultimately who the contractor is for this project. We use several general contractors, but in all cases, we emphasize with our contractors to hire local whenever possible. And we work with the Chamber of Commerce, with CareerSource, in some cases with the carpentry unions, to make sure that we advertise and the jobs local, and that's where the focus will be for this as well.
If a panel gets damaged, we could bring it in here and put it up on the wall that basically we're the largest solar provider in the state of Florida. We'd like to have that title.
Absolutely.
I think that, if I may, I think I'd like to request you don't bring us one that doesn't have any guts in it, you know, or doesn't cost very much, where we can, and have it put on there, solar panel leading, county of Florida.
There you go.
We can make that happen. And I've actually worked with our general contractors on the sites that we've had here built already on exactly how many employees have been local, and it's been about 60%
Yeah.
from Putnam County and the surrounding counties.
Well, before I yield the floor to Commissioner Pickens, the last project you did out in Larkin, y'all were done before anybody hardly knew you were there. I mean, y'all
And
went,
that's our goal as well on
right.
this one.
It was like they were already done. So, Mr. Pickens.
Yeah, I just want to add is the Florida Power Night, Jim, y'all have been just a great corporate citizen with Putnam County, and the proof is already there with the other solar farms that y'all have installed, so I see no reason why this one won't go very smoothly and be done on time and create some jobs, and then after that, it won't make any noise and it'll just produce some electricity. So I appreciate this, and I'm definitely for this project.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Mr. Bush, we got to open it up to the public, so as soon as we get done with that, we'll move forward. Is there any public here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there any public here wishing to speak in opposition of this proposal? All right, we'll end the public comment part of that.
Mr.
And
Chairman?
yes, Board, Mr. Turner, what is your pleasure, sir?
I move that we uphold the recommendation for this project, and that we approve the plan unit development on case number 20-003.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner
Second.
Turner, proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Thank you all very much for your time together. Mr. Brown,
And if I may,
you may.
Jim, I just want to quickly say I appreciate how hard you've worked on this project to make it good for the neighborhood, and I look forward to working with you through completion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Y'all still building those solar trees too that we talked? No, okay.
I thought they went away from that.
Huh?
Do y'all still make those? I thought y'all went away from those.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
We looked at those for the playground, remember?
Right, we did.
We were looking at maybe putting some out for a playground that we did here.
All right, next item, Mr. Brown, zoning map amended from Plan Unit Development PUD to Plan Unit Development PUD, case number 220004.
All right. Hold on a second. I'm having a little bit of technical issue right here.
Talking to us, or you mumbling?
Mr. Commando, did I miss that we were supposed to do, did we have any, we were supposed to ask the board if we had any type of conversations outside of that? I didn't do that. Okay, we don't.
You don't think you have to do in parte on those?
Ex parte? Okay,
Ex parte, I don't think.
okay, good, thank you.
All right, I think I can muddle through this. I have a little. Mr. Chairman and Commission, the next
Wait a
item.
minute, let's not use the term muddle through. Let's,
I
for
will
the
not muddle
public,
through.
we're going to get through this.
I will get through it. The next item is public hearing for PUD 20-004. This is an amendment to an existing PUD. The applicant is Benjamin Chandler. The request is to amend a former PUD, which was adopted in 2011, the last amendment, to modify the allowed uses within the PUD. The location of the project is 377 County Road 309 in Satsuma. It's more specifically in the southwest corner of the intersection of Shell Harbor Road and County Road 309. The project site is approximately 0.63 acres in size. The future land use is rural residential. The site has approximately 185 feet of frontage on County Road 309 and 150 foot of frontage on Shell Harbor Road. There's an existing little over 1,900 square foot structure that was built back in 1973. The parcel originally was, well, not originally, but in 1993, the parcel was rezoned from C1 to PUD to allow for a print shop at the time. In 2003, the PUD was amended to expand allowable uses to include other retail uses on the site. The current request is to amend the PUD to allow additional uses that would include the repair of recreational vehicles, primarily golf carts, and automotive and marine repair with limited outside storage. Here's the future land use. You can see rural residential, commercial parcel directly to the south of it. There's the aerial. You can see the existing site, an existing building and parking area. Existing zoning is PUD. Again, we look at comp plan consistency for all these rezonings. And the rural residential future land use category are primarily consist of areas adjacent to municipalities and areas that designed urban service, urban reserve, and rural center. Neighborhood commercial uses, neighborhood commercial uses may be permitted when approved through a PUD. And that's the reason this area is, this parcel is designated a PUD is pursuant to the existing comp plan. You have to have commercial uses in a rural residential future land use, it must be through a PUD. Policy A193B5, as you heard in the previous project, allows PUD zoning in any of the future land use designations if PUD is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and the PUD does not increase the intensity or density of uses in the underlying land use category. Staff finds that the subject site is an established commercial location located on County Road 309, which is designated a major collector roadway. Commercial uses have been on the site continuously since 1973. The combination of the subject parcel and the commercial zoning to the property abutting it to the south comprise a compact development area. Neighborhood commercial uses are only permitted in rural residential future land use with a PUD. And they must be located on at least a minor collector or higher roadway facility, which is paved, which County Road 309 meets that requirement. Again, this is an amendment to an existing PUD. Just to go over by approval of the board in the past for a PUD, it's staff recognition or belief that the county has decided that a PUD, it meets all the objectives and requirements for a PUD at this location. So just to briefly go over the changes to the development agreement. Again, one of the changes is to change the name of the development agreement to Chandler's Commercial PUD. Remove the commercial recreational entertainment allowable use from the agreement, and to then add and allow for outdoor storage and or display of marine, recreational, and auto vehicles, golf carts, and no more than 3 marine or automotive vehicles will be displayed outside in the front area. Anything in addition to that will have to be in the back behind the fence. And no storage, and this condition was an addition by the Planning Commission. No storage of disabled vehicle in the front of the building for more than 30 days. With that, staff finds that the existing PUD zoning approved by the county is evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified. The PUD zoning and development is consistent with the future land use designation, and the proposed project is compatible with existing land uses in the area. The development is consistent with the requirements of PUD zoning and consistent with the comp plan goals, objectives, and policies. At its December 9th, 2020 meeting, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to amend the existing PUD to allow for the additional uses requested. And so it's staff's recommendation to approve the request to amend the PUD with the identified changes to the development agreement that would allow for the sale and or repair of marine, recreational, automotive repair, and outside storage as restricted in the time in the proposed development agreement. Any questions of staff?
Mr. Brown, I'm going to let Mr. Pickens, if he has any questions, go first since it's his district. Mr. Pickens?
Thank you, Chairman Harvey. Mike, it says outdoor storage and display of marine recreational automotive vehicles that are for repair or for sale, and as well as storage units. Can you define a storage unit that might be there for sale?
Storage, did it say storage unit? If it did, then that's a mistake on my part.
I took that as
The
boat
storage unit was not requested by the applicant, to my knowledge. So if the agreement states that, then that needs to be fixed, and I made that mistake.
Yeah, it does say that, if that's part of this agreement, because it does limit the golf carts and no more than 3 marine or automotive outside display at any one given time. So that's part of the agreement, correct?
Right.
Yeah, it says, as well as storage units for sale. Now, is that a storage unit or?
No, I believe, and the applicant and the owner who's here may be able to add to that, but I believe that that's probably a mistaken wording on my end, because I drafted that agreement.
Do you have the documents in front of you? It's on page 194 of that. So let's get that straightened out before we go to the applicant. The motion will probably take that out if it's not something that applies for.
Not sure if that meant storage units like a building or units that they uses to store outside like a boat.
That's what I thought it meant.
That's the way I interpreted that, to say is that it was units that he was gonna store outside the fence for over 30 days, is what I thought it. But
They
maybe
have
I'm
stuff out there now.
Mr. Pickens.
Yeah,
is a lot
I
smarter
see
than
that.
I want to know the difference.
It may have been carried forward from the previous agreement. I don't believe, though, that was something that was intended by the applicant, but I would like to hear from the applicant on that.
Okay.
But it may have been
Well, we can correct that in a motion.
a staff oversight.
All right.
Okay, and
Go ahead,
Mike,
Mr. Pickens.
no storage or disabled vehicles in front of the building for more than 30 days. Who's going to monitor that? Because I've had a couple of complaints about this facility, not very many. And I know he's trying to make a living here, and I'm all for that. And this has been commercial property since 1973. I think it was one of the original first Handyways or a Jiffy store, and then it's transitioned to the other uses. But that's been the complaint, is how many units are out there, and then whether they look like they're for sale or being repaired. So I just wondered who's going to monitor that.
It'll be up to staff primarily. We will work with codes, planning staff when we get down there. we can, that we will, it's staff's responsibility to monitor that,
Okay, all right, thank you, that's all I have.
yeah.
All right, why don't we hear from the applicant? Ms. Chandler, is that you in the back? Would you like to come up and speak? And for the record, a few months back, we were coming back from Willaca, myself and Commissioner Goddard at the time, and stopped by and saw your facility.
Yes.
And for the record, we did have a conversation, not a deep dive into this, but just for the record, I wanted to put that out there. Go ahead, Ms. Chandler. Thank you.
Benjamin Chandler.
If you'll come up and speak directly into the microphone.
Ben Chandler. I own the property there at 377 County Road 309. It's basically just doing marine upholstery, golf cart upholstery, automotive upholstery, such like that. It's, and then the golf cart's sitting out there for display. These are things, projects and stuff that I've got going on that are for sale. I really don't see the change in why this was all brought up, other than maybe some disgruntled people that I've trespassed from the property. There's not a lot of stuff laying around. It's pretty much in line. Everything has wheels. It's constantly moved in and out. There's privacy fence over half the property in the rear. So anything that does a real extensive repairs or such, I do in the back. And, you know, everything else looks fairly neat. I invite y'all to come out, take a look at it. And as far as the storage, the units I was talking about were maybe storage buildings below the 10 by 15. If I wanted to put a couple of units out there for display and sale, that was just an option for future use. As far as what's going on there now, I don't think anybody had an issue. There was a gentleman that come up that was a little disgruntled, one of the ones I've had trespassed, and it was just a nasty situation, so I just, you know, backed away from it. So this was a recommendation of what I could do as far as changing the PUD to be in compliance with whatever y'all recommend here. So, I mean, I'm not above, you know. There was another thing on the amendment it was a 30-day on some of these parts and stuff that I've got for these carts and such. It takes me 2 months to get parts in there, kits and such. These are built in North Carolina and shipped from there, but it takes a while to get all these parts. And I would like to bump that up to at least a 90-day to where I can have, because I've got projects in there that I've got 2 years in building. These are anything from a Harley Davidson cart to a Mustang. That's, you know, these are ongoing things for as far as upholstery. Now, as far as automotive repair and stuff like that, I'm not getting in. That's the reason why I'm down there working on golf carts and doing upholstery, because that's not important as far as getting into the smaller stuff to try to display out there in a nice, neat manner. I have no problem, you know, again, getting into compliance with whatever you recommend here. It's just I got to move this forward to be able to get on with my business. So,
Ms. Chandler, Mr. Rawls has a question for you.
That's really for the board. Would this not, we can't make an end round around the planning board. Wouldn't this have to go back to the planning board to make that 90 days?
You could,
We can make changes.
I believe the board has the right to make changes. Planning Commission is only recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. So you can make whatever changes you desire, or three of you desire.
But I do kind of agree with Commissioner Rawls's point real quick, that if we're going to make a lot of major changes, you know, I think that, but I don't know if we are or not, so.
Well, my question is, was a request for 30 days to the planning board?
That was placed by the planning board.
there was no, excuse me,
Yeah.
there was no, I mean, if I could just keep going like this without a limit, I mean, it's just neat. I don't mind. That was just something that was.
No, my question is, did the planning board, did you request 30 days and the planning board said, yeah, we'll move with that? Or did the planning board say we're recommending, because it sounded like you said the planning board recommended 30 days,
The planning board was concerned with long-term
Right.
storage of unoperable items.
And I could see
They
that.
placed
I went by,
Yeah,
your
you don't want a
facility the other day
junkyard.
just to see what it was, and I recognized it immediately. Actually had a top made for my boat at one point in time, and have no issues whatsoever with the workmanship. But, you know, you're in a high-traffic area. You know, I just don't know how the planning board would feel if we usurped their decision and just decide on our own that we want to make it 90 days if what they, you know, if they were pushing us to go 30 days. Because if you've got a long-term project, is it best to store it right there on Highway 3 or on State Road 3, County Road 309?
No, I mean, it can go back, and that's what the board was saying. The 30 days is fine with me. If we want to move forward with 30 days, that's not a problem, because it usually gets moved around into the rear to where I can complete a project or something. I mean, it's just, like I said, the things that are here on this property are constantly moved and constantly worked on. It's not like they're stagnant. I mean, there is an old wagon that we built out there for, my mother sits out there and sells peanuts sometimes. I mean, this is something I've got an old hitch and post mailbox. That stuff is just permanently there, you know, and it stays as an attraction, more or less. There's footsteps out there that the kids painted up, and they stay across the parking lot for attraction. It's not anything that's not organized neat. So, like I said, y'all are more than welcome to come by and take a look at it and make a judgment for yourself there. But I think it's fine. Everybody in the neighborhood, excluded the ones that are a little disgruntled because of certain situations, everybody has no problem with what's going on there. You know, I think everybody's happy with the way things are going on.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I think he pretty much answered my questions to Commissioner Rawls. I think we should leave it at 30 days. And if you have any vehicles that need working on, park them out back. That way you don't turn into a junkyard for 90 days out by the street.
Right.
You know, and I know it ain't junk to you, it's prized possessions, but your prized possessions may be junk to somebody else. And so, I guess my question is, you know, my point is.
How about
it'd
my
prob-
neighbor?
Probably be best if those things stayed out back, you know, the stuff that ain't ready to sell. So, thank you,
I
Mr.
shouldn't
Chairman.
have
Well,
said
these
that. Mr.
just
Chan, hang on just a second. Mr. Pickens has a question.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd hold it to the 30 days. And then, like I say, I've had just a few complaints about the amount of items that were out front, and I haven't had anything in a while because I think you organized them, maybe put them in kind of a semicircle. So, but yeah, that's what I would ask is that the ones that are ready for sale be out front, and the ones that you're working on be in the back out there, unless you just put one out there for a while to sell for scrap, you know, parts or something like that. But yeah, just try to keep it as clean as you can.
Mr. Brown, I do have a question. Concerning item 2 on page 194, I'm hearing from the applicant that he would like to have the ability to sell little storage units. It doesn't give a size, so,
It does not. no.
okay. But you're fine with, you still want to have that ability if you want to bring a couple sheds in? and-
Right, this is below anything that's required to have a permit for, like, I think it's 10 by 15.
Well, that's up to you.
Yeah, that's, you know,
All right.
it's.
Okay, then I'm gonna, this public hearing, so I need you to sit down and I'll ask the public to come up and speak. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody here that wants to speak in opposition of this application? Please come up and state your name. Nobody from the public? All right, good. Then we'll close the public portion of this. Commissioner, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we accept the zoning map amendment, PUD, case number 20-004, as recommended by staff and by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. We have a proper motion by Commissioner Pickens, proper second by Commissioner Adamsack. Any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Court, Matt Reynolds. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. I have nothing to bring up today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Next is appointments from the board. I'll start to my right. Mr. Adamczak, do you have any board appointments for today?
Let me switch my page. I have three, actually. To the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, for the District 5 vacant seat, I would like to appoint Cynthia Locke.
That's your appointment, that's fine.
For the Better Place Plan Oversight Committee, for the appointment of District 5, I would like to appoint Cameron Casto.
Okay, would you spell that?
Cameron, and then Casto.
Cameron Casto, okay.
For the Library Board, my one appointment for District 5 that's vacant, I would like to appoint Caitlin Owens. And as a note of record, we are working on my other Better Place Plan Oversight Committee member. We're working on having that removed to appoint another resource, as that person hasn't shown up in a couple years. So there's a process that Sarah is helping me with for that. So thank you, Sarah, for your help.
And you gained that appointment on the library board because we found a little discrepancy there that Ms. Bennett, who was under the District 5, was actually in my district. So that's how you gained that one, so.
Oh, yeah, and that, Ms. Bennett is a great appointee.
She
so
is, but she,
I would have loved to have kept her on there.
well, I'll keep her, she's on mine.
Oh,
so,
good.
Yeah, she's there, so.
My one question on the IT committee, does that have members from our, do we know a description on that one? Is there members from, is there members from the community as well? Do we have a description on that?
On that one.
Just if I can get a description of what that committee is, that
Yeah,
would be
well,
great.
get Ms.,
Whatever you wanted to do, Mr. Chairman.
get with Mr. Suggs and y'all can work that. Yeah. All right, to my right, Mr. Turner, do you have any appointments?
Yes, sir, I do. I would like to, on the Better Place Plan Oversight Committee, appoint Aaron Fortner,
Okay,
and that's all I have for today. Sarah has been, if I could make one more comment,
you may,
please.
please.
Sarah's been real good at helping on this, but if there's some way that, at one point in time that we could come up with, I would like a very short description of every committee. And when I say description, not about what they do, we're supposed to have that already in a book somewhere. I want to know, the biggest question would be, does that person that I appoint have to be in my district or not? Because I understand it's not consistent throughout the committees. Some committees, they can live in the county, but you could appoint them as your appointment as a district appointment. And then other committees, they have to actually live in the district. Well, it makes it very difficult to try to figure out who to appoint to a certain committee because you don't know if they got to live in your district or not. So if we could figure that out for them and just give us an idea if we can appoint them in or out of the district, that'd help, I think, every commissioner here.
Mr. Chairman, that's a great question, and we'll work on that. And what we'll do is we'll put a list together by each one of the committees that are represented here and let you know which ones can and can't.
Well,
There's a few committees that are full, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No.
There's a few committees that are full that also need to be included, because they won't be in full forever, and so I think there's 33 citizens committees or something, so we could just go down and try to determine that one thing. Do they have to be in or out of the district? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that was one of the priorities I brought the other day, and we're going to be discussing that at the next workshop meeting. So, yeah, but actually, Sarah and I went through there the other day quite extensively and cleaned up some of these to get some answers for you. So we'll have that.
She's helped, I want to say, if I may,
Yeah,
that
you may.
she's helped me tremendously every time on a certain situation, on a certain committee, she helps without fail. But I just think if we could put that together for all of them for general information, it would be very good. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to add something on that.
You're going to speak? That's wonderful.
I am. So I will definitely get that for you, but I have met with the IT department regarding the committee program that we use, and that particular information is going to be visible to the public at some point, so we're working on that. I just wanted to let you know.
Did you meet with the IT department over supper?
No, it was a different one. But we are working
had
on
to go
that to
there.
make that more digestible, both for you and for the public. So I'll work on getting that.
Sarah, I appreciate you coming to the podium.
I've never been up here before.
And no one ever wants to from that side hardly, so it's a first for us. but
If you
we-
wait with Jim to come take your picture, then you'll have the whole, you'll get the
Oh,
whole.
no, no picture.
whole
Thank you.
experience.
Commissioner Adamzak, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to state, I really appreciate Sarah's work on all of this stuff with the committees. It seems like something along the lines of what Mr. Turner's saying, that we come to you way too often. If it was just there where we can grab it, it would allow you to free up to do other things. So I'm really excited that we're gonna have something in place for that. Thank you.
Mr. Rawls, you had a question for Mr. Turner?
No, not a question, this is a statement. When I first got elected, I had a lot of heartburn about the way the committees were, and, Sarah worked really hard to get me the answers, which a lot of my questions were, who's not showing up? Can we get not a scorecard, but an attendance record? And I think going forward, that we really, especially coming out of COVID, a lot of people are not showing up for meetings. We've got a lot of vacancies we need to fill, and as a result of that, we have a lot of inactivity due to not being able to obtain a quorum. So I hope that's part of the conversation when we do discuss the committees as far as getting this engine recranked and people back in the saddle.
I agree. Mr. Turner, are you done?
Pretty much. We've had that conversation and we made some rules. I think the hardest thing is just figuring out how to implement the rules. We made it where if you don't come to a certain number of meetings, we can ask you to leave, but it's supposed to be unexcused absences. So if somebody's sick and they're missing because they're sick or on COVID or whatever the thing is, I'm not gonna kick my guy off for that reason. Or if he's having an issue, but he's still passionate about that subject, that's just not fair to
But
them
just
either.
what I've been experiencing is just a lot of, maybe it's apathy, I don't know, but folks have resigned. The Waterways and Trails is a perfect example. It was a very vibrant, very hardworking committee, and then COVID hits, and then we've had people step aside. David moved, not David, was it who?
It was Mr. Vernstein.
Yeah, Bob Vernstein moved to Gainesville, and he said he'd still like to participate, but he can't be a member in a membership capacity at least. He can help, and he's willing to, but we just got to, it feels like the system is broken right now because of what COVID has done to it, and we just need to get things cranking along again.
Well, I think when we have our next workshop, that's something that we can direct staff to start really. Some of these are done by ordinance and they have to live in your district, and some are done by statute, and we need to know that. And I think that would propel us into the future. Mr.
That's
Turner?
definitely the
anything?
main thing for sure, Mr. Chairman, is know what to do. But,
Right.
it goes back to the volunteer fire service, same exact thing. You can't make somebody volunteer.
Right.
So a lot of times in this day and age, people don't want to go out and they're, even though they're passionate or not about a certain subject. And with that, I'm gonna shut up and let, the next guy go. I'm done, sir.
And I want to say, sometimes people move. They'll move out of your district, and if you don't watch those lists, you don't know. And you
If
go,
we don't have a physical quorum, we can't have a meeting. They'll show up on Zoom.
And if you have somebody there that shouldn't be there because they've moved or something, then you kind of derail the whole thing again. So we got to, we'll get to that. Mr. Pickens, I'll go with you to my immediate left.
Yeah, I have for District 1 on the Better Place Plan Oversight Committee, I'd like to renominate Stuart Ryder for another term.
Okay.
And I do have a question. Commissioner Adamzak, I know you nominated David Parsons for the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee. Was that a district appointment, or was it this at-large?
Yeah,
that's
so
still
I
there?
followed up, that is a district appointment, but in that case, they don't have, this is an example of what we're
Right,
asking.
they don't
In
have
that case, he doesn't have to live in the district.
Okay, but so that was your district?
Yes, sir.
So we still have
I
at-large?
think that was at large, because I was hoping he lived in mine. I was gonna steal him from him to put him in a District 3 appointment, but, I think it
If we'd
was
like
at
to
large.
adjust it, I'm fine with that, but I did appoint him as my district just because I have a relationship with him, and I
Okay, so we still
thought he
have,
would be a good resource.
so we still have 2 that we need to fill then?
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you want to give me my District 5 back, I'm more than happy to take it and put that in at large, if that's doable.
You have the floor, sir.
Because I do have someone that's interested in that committee from District 5.
That's fine with me. You know, you're gonna leave David Parson on.
Yeah.
Why
Okay,
don't you make that motion?
okay, I'll make the motion that we, move David Parson from the, at-large, excuse me, from the District 5 appointment to the at-large appointment to replace, Ms. Lindsay Lambert, who, you understand why Gina Sims and Ms. Lambert had to leave was because they're related to a commissioner. And I just want to say that they were very involved, they attended, and they were young, so they were for the future, so I hate that. So I make that recommendation.
I'll second it. Well,
You're fine.
the board chairman.
I'll
can-
second.
I don't mind. You
We'll
can-
stand in line in a second, and we'll let you break Robert Rule of Order at one time.
No, you can,
Go
the
ahead
chairman
and
can second the motion, can't
That's
we,
right.
Mr. Commander?
Can't around here for damn sure.
In the event there's a lack of second, the chairman can.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Mr. Pickens, any more appointments?
No.
Okay, and so that's going to free up an appointment with you. You want me to come back to you, or do you want to do that?
No, I'll do it next meeting.
Okay. Mr. Rawls?
I have no vacancies, but I would like to say that, make sure whoever you guys are nominating, they get their paperwork in.
Yeah.
That was something else that was, we missed out on.
And I've got some coming up, but none today, so. 'cause
Let me ask this question. Stuart Ryder had been on this committee for 4 years,
He doesn't have to.
so he doesn't have to. That's what I thought I understood. Okay.
Only new appointments have to fill out an application. Anybody that's still there does not. That's the rule.
That's right. Mr. County Administrator, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Just a couple of things this morning. One is I apologize for stepping in and out the last few minutes. I've been trying to work, setting up an opportunity for the newly elected Congresswoman Kamen to come and see our vaccination site tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that yet or not, but we're working on that. If that happens, I'll share it with the 5 commissioners. And secondly, got a phone call, text message over the weekend on Sunday, I believe it was. We've got, as you know, we've got a new business partner out at the business park. It's companies came in and is filling a portion of the call center. And so I think the business park is getting some life breath into it from Camarco, and now the call center's got some activity. We needed to get out there and do some housekeeping, so to speak, on our on mowing, and we took care of that. We'll get that on a regular schedule to make sure that we have a presentation out there that's inviting to folks that want to come out there and be a member of our business park. But on Sunday, it was a little different. We had a phone call about ATVs and some other activities that were going on out there. I understand that the Sheriff's Office responded, did a good job. But this is a Port Authority issue, so what I'd like to do is explore some options on what we may want to do as far as discouraging the activity out there, so we can make sure that our business park is presentable at all times for anyone who may want to come and maybe relocate a business or open up a new business there. I'll bring that to a Port Authority meeting, sir.
Okay, you're going to bring that to the next Port Authority?
Sure.
Good. Mr. Rawls, you had a question?
Just following up on what Mr. Sugg just said, I had a couple of out-of-town investors that had come down from Jacksonville and were looking for opportunities in Putnam County. And on a Sunday afternoon, we went out there. There was a U-Haul truck there was 6 or 8 vehicles with trucks and trailers and a big U-Haul truck, and people out there. It used to be called the Corral area, and it was a lot of ATV riding. That hasn't stopped apparently, and I did contact Colonel Wells, and they sent somebody out there. But there's got to be a way to curtail that. We don't control the city limits, but if you live in the city, you hear 2-stroke dirt bikes and 4-wheelers going up and down the streets all the time. It's very dangerous for the public, but it's extremely dangerous to the people that are riding. And that property out there is, remote. If somebody did get hurt, if you're by yourself especially, you're gonna have a hard time getting out. But
Where's it at, Jeff?
they're the business park. When you go in and turn right in front of the call center, they were lined up on that road, and I don't know if they're out there drag racing these things.
Riding in the back at Sugar Hill maybe in their 4-wheelers or something?
Not Sugar Hill. This is the business park itself. The
Okay.
Corral, it's called the Corral area. So you know where the call center is in Camarco, everything north, all that dirt north of that big sand
What I
pit.
call Sugar Hill back in that
Okay,
area, back in there.
that pit that we've got, or the stockpile of whatever we've got there, that area.
Do we own that, the
That's
county,
Port Authority.
behind the port?
We own that.
I think if we could talk, maybe have part of our conversation when we do meet with the city, that really needs to be in regards to that, because it's a life safety issue. Not too long ago, you had an individual that was on a dirt bike that hit a vehicle and was killed in the city limits. I think it was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So they're not licensed vehicles, they're not street-rated vehicles. They shouldn't be allowed. I think we're just, at some point, we're gonna have to start cracking down, because if you ever thought that the loud noises coming from vehicles and music was annoying, I'm not gonna say it's embarrassing, but when you've got somebody that's looking at potentially moving jobs down here, they see that.
Well, I agree. I think there's been such inactivity out there that it's kind of just been accepted to go ahead and do it, and no one's looked at it until recently. And, you know, Sunday I got the pictures along with you, Mr. Suggs, and it was pretty damning, frankly. So, yeah, we need to.
Y'all are working on it though, right?
We are working on it. And we'll bring something back at the next meeting on that. Mr. County Administrator, any more?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Commando?
No report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? I'll start with my left. Commissioner Rawls.
Yeah, so I talked about having monthly town hall meetings a couple of meetings ago. I've got one set up for Barden, and I apologize for the short notice, but I went ahead and set it up for Monday, next Monday, the first Monday of February, and then trying to have one every first Monday after that.
What time is that?
6 o'clock.
6?
And the reason I think Barton's important is because we've got the construction started. I'm still getting phone calls from folks that are concerned. They like, some of them like the light. It's different. They're just gonna have to get used to it, but they're wanting to use the bridge. And so I think we need to go out there and just meet with them and have a conversation. Tried this stuff on Facebook, got a lot of response, put it out there on a bunch of different groups. Also, I'd like to hear from Barden and see what their expectation of this year's budget coming up is. I'd also like to have a conversation with them, which leads me into the next topic about.
Where is that meeting?
Right now, it's at the fire station,
Okay.
and the weather looks really nice that night, so we may even do it outside.
Good.
Or pull the trucks out and do it in the bay.
I'd like to comment on that.
Okay.
Is, when you hold that meeting, is it gonna be open for other discussion too, beyond the bridge, or is it?
No, it's wide open, whatever
Just
they want to
open
talk about,
discussion?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but-
Sarah, before we get off this one, we probably need to notice that in case other commissioners want to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And I would encourage you guys, and don't want to take away that it is that there's 2 commissioners out there, Commissioner Rawls and Commissioner Adams, that, you know, I'll probably end up attending, but I'll just keep my comments at a real high level and then probably leave and let y'all do your thing out there. I think that's important that you do that.
As this was Mr. Rawls' idea, is the intention, I think you may want to use our public comment descriptor as a thing, just because if someone brings up something random from the public, we don't want to set the tone that we will have the answers there, because we don't know what they're going to ask. So maybe just a recommendation to you as you set these up, and I assume you're going to go throughout the county, like you said, that we use this public comment disclaimer just so that we're not bringing answers exactly back, you know. So the expectation isn't like it's a Q&A, they ask this question, we're supposed to have some immediate answer.
No, we'll do our best to answer their questions or address the concerns, but another thing that I see coming down the pipeline, and this is probably going to have to be discussed throughout the county, is our upcoming budget. I think we need to start with budget discussions a lot sooner than later. We've got fuel prices that are starting to creep up. That's going to impact us, not only the cost of fuel, but the cost of everything that's tied to fuel. Whether you're an electrician buying plastic conduit or plastic pipe, insulation on wire, everything is going up now. And I'm not sure, I'm sure Mr. Turner got the same love letter I got from the folks over at the metal, Florida First Coast Metals, 7 to 10% price increase, one swipe, this coming up next month. And we're only given a couple of weeks' notice at this point. Electrical switchgear, we're, looking at switchgear. There's one project I'm familiar with that's got 1,800 amp gear and 21-week lead time. And they're not willing to guarantee pricing beyond the end of the business day at this point. No more 15 or 30 days. They're just saying, this is the best we're going to give you right now. So it's going to affect our community. It's going to affect our budget. It's going to affect what our employees are able to do and what we're able to do for the public as well. So
Can I ask a question?
I'm sorry.
You may, Mr. Turner.
How do you adjust until you know what the impact is? And how do you start budgeting before what you know what your revenue is, you can budget to?
I think we have to start having conversations about what we're trying to budget. Just like if we just take something like the fire service, we know we want it by the end of the year, want to get to a certain point, but we need to know, up until now, we don't have a funding source for that, so we could start looking at
You're
funding
talking about
sources.
general discussions on what we may want to move in that
Funding,
direction.
funding,
Okay,
yeah,
I got it.
and not just fire, but if we do
I
relieve
get
some of
it.
the, okay. So it's, what I'm saying is it's more of a conversation with the public about, look, we've gone a long time without being able to raise any revenue, and now we're gonna have to start raising revenue, because what comes in the heel of this
Or
is the
cut
minimum wage
expenses.
increase. But if we cut expenses, our minimum wage increase is gonna have an impact. And from the numbers that I'm looking at, we're between 10 and 11% of payroll per year for the next 3 to 4 years. We got some folks that are higher than $10.
That's a conversation you and I can fight over on another day.
Well, no, we're stuck with
I say
it.
we live within our means, so whatever, we'll.
But so we had $158,000 this year at the end of our budget process, and we didn't fully fund the sheriff's department. And
That's a lie.
We did fully fund it.
no.
Not only that, we gave them extra, more than they ever
Okay,
asked
okay,
for.
When we, it's not a lie. When we
Okay,
finished,
all right.
had it not been for COVID, we would not have fully funded the sheriff's department. That's my point, with the money we had left over. So take COVID out of the equation and give us a regular year, 1 or 2 years from now. And we are looking at severe budget shortfalls if we don't change the way our revenue is coming in right now. That's all I'm saying. There's no indication that the economy is going to slow down when it comes to housing right now. Everybody's talking about keeping interest rates low for at least another 1.5 to 2 years, but you have Janet Yellen coming in, and she's going to be advising this new White House. So I think we just need to be mindful and be looking down the road as much as at the road, because if we're short-sighted, it's going to bite us. And I don't know how we claw back from that. So
Mr. Rawls, Mr. Suggs would like to ask a question.
Not a question, but an offer. Mr. Chairman, if it's all right with the board, Commissioner Rawls, if you'd like to, let's schedule some time to sit down. We don't need to wait for a budget schedule. More than welcome to come and meet with staff. We'd love to sit down and go ahead and start conversating now about some of the things that you think are going to be critical for us to address in the upcoming months. So anytime you'd like to schedule some time to come sit down with us, we'd be more than happy to do that.
okay, I'm pretty loose, and
Or you can do like I do. Julianne, I have one more thing, and then I walk out and come back in. Well, and then she says, I thought you only had one more thing. Well, one more thing.
well, this comes where I have sat down with Mr. Suggs and back when Mr. Reynolds was there, and the answer I get is, look, we agree, but you've got to get 2 more commissioners on board, because we're not hearing that from them. And what I'm talking about is us being able to come up with alternative funds of raising revenue, rather than going out and our millage rate is pretty much maxed out. You can go up another $500,000. That's not going to generate enough to do anything, let alone address our issues with the fire service or Parks and Recreation, Public Works, and all that. So that's all I'm saying.
I think you'll be very pleased at the next workshop, and it won't be an all-day one. It's going to be at the next workshop that we're going to start trying to hone down the commissioner priorities, and this board will be asking staff to look at, well, I don't want to take away the thunder of that meeting, but I think you'll be very pleased. Mr. Adamczak, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm going to attempt to walk the fine line between Mr. Rawls and Mr. Turner. I agree with Mr. Turner until you've explored all potential. I speak loud enough that sometimes I forget to turn this on. But until we explore all potential cost savings, which I'm not sure yet if we have or not, then we really can't look to alternative means of funding, unless if the alternate means of funding, and for instance, like the fire and EMS, if we did something there where we could offset the millage, things like that, I would be open to that type of conversation. But until you've explored all options of cost savings, I think we have to, as a conservative, fiscal conservative that I feel I am, I think we have to explore those options first, like Mr. Turner said, and both can be done at the same time as well, right? The discussion has to happen. I support the idea of having that discussion in public for the sole purpose, because we do have disagreement on this board how to handle that. We have two obvious ones. We have some, I think, that are in the middle of that, just from listening over the past couple of years. And we can't do that with a one-off conversation with Mr. Suggs and staff and come back. It has to be done in the public, because it's the only way we can discuss it amongst ourselves.
Right, and that's one of the reasons for having the town hall meetings, is just starting to get the public to understand that drainage issues. And we haven't had a heavy raining season. Thank God we've been at a pretty dry spell here lately, but when the rains do come back, we're gonna be hearing all about our drainage and how, we've got to do more about it. And until there's some way to fund it, like, I know we're gonna, hopefully potentially discuss this at a workshop, so.
We are. Is that it?
I just want to say, I'm sure everybody is aware of the incident with the sheriff's deputies, and just want to see if we can get an update on the condition of their employees. Last I heard, they were still in the hospital.
I haven't gotten an update, so I don't know that.
Anybody know?
We can reach out.
That is the last that we've heard. I know, I was on a call yesterday with Colonel Wells, and so I'll reach out with him today and see if we can get an update before this afternoon if we can.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Pickens.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Harvey. All I've got is just want to congratulate Ms. Tina Hitchcock for the Employee of the Quarter, and also recognize the 5 individuals with their 10-year service, and just thank you for what they all do for us. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Adamsack?
I just kind of want to reiterate my overall goal of being a commissioner really is to serve the people and to have as much conversation as we can that makes the people aware of what we're doing and why, whether it's from a staff perspective or from a commissioner's perspective. So a lot of times my comments or my pulling an item, which I haven't pulled a lot, is along that lines. That's my goal, is to have that conversation or to make a statement so that the public is aware of it and aware of what I'm thinking when I'm making decisions. So instead of just simply saying, yeah, vote consent, I want them to know, and it is difficult to just simply put that out there on Facebook. I mean, I've already been hammered by some people in the community just for the fact I wasn't giving them enough type thing, and I think I give them a lot. So that's just my opinion on that. I guess people in the community can send me some more emails and complain about it, but and I'm fine with that. That's about all I have. I look forward to these upcoming workshops where we're going to discuss some of the things that we set out as priorities. I really appreciate that you put that together. I, for one, did like that format, and obviously, continued prayers for the 2 sheriff deputies, as well as thanks for all the people that are serving our community as in every capacity, whether it's the veteran service people that came to us today, those that were recognized, or our sheriffs, firefighters, EMS. I just really appreciate the work that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adamsack. And rest assured, anytime you need to pull an item, I do the same thing. I like to pull them sometimes just to have a discussion where people can see we had a discussion on them. And I think sometimes they're very important to do that. Commissioner Turner.
Thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Adamsack saying that he wanted to talk about different issues. I get it. We all do. But by the same token, we want to make sure that if we can, that we try to talk about an item to somebody if they ask, and talk about it like it should. But by the same token, do we want to just talk about every item on the consent agenda? Because if that's not the case, then we don't need it. So my point being in all that rambling was that staff is open. We can go to staff. And so if it's a question that you need, go to staff. If it's a question that you want to bring up, brother, I'll sit here all day and do it with you, no problem. But hopefully it'll be because that it's something the public needs to know more so than we just didn't get time to talk to staff. That was my only point this morning. Sure. So anyhow, I'd like to join everybody else in in giving accolades to the people who came today and were presented the awards. I think it's great Putnam County goes and does that and shows appreciation to the members of our family, which is what they are. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I think that'll wrap me up.
And I want to do the same thing. Our staff works very hard for us, and for us to take the time to recognize them is a very small part of, and it's the best part of this job, in my opinion, that we can have them come up before us and we can publicly, because we do work for them as much as sometimes they think they work for us, but it's the other way around, and we know that. I do want to say thank you to all the commissioners for the priority meeting that we had. I know it was a little bit just out there and didn't know what to expect, but I think we all brought to the table what we really were looking for this year. And again, I want to say my goal as chairman is to help keep those priorities in the front line as we go forward. And no disrespect to anyone, but if you've been chairman of this organization, you will find out that there's lots of fires that happen during your chairmanship in that year, and you're busy trying to put those fires out, and you do look back and go, man, I wish we could have got something done about that, or wish we could have done that.
Fires that nobody knows about.
I know, fires that no one knows about unless you're the chairman, and that happens. So, and then you find yourself here every day, all day sometimes, and that's fine too. That's part of being the chairman, and no one should ever take away from that, but it is more responsibility. But I want to make everybody's year successful. I want everybody's voice to be heard, and I truly want this to be one of the best years we've ever had. And for that, I will recess our meeting. I'm sorry, before I get off of that, public comment on any miscellaneous items. Is there any public comment on any miscellaneous items that have not been brought up? And seeing none, we will recess this meeting till 5:05. Gentlemen, we have a 2 o'clock Public Works meeting here, and I will see you back here at 2 and then at 5:05. Thank you.